Can we go live? Yes, we are live. It's time for... after the Formula 1 weekend. And... yeah, and we start with the live Japanese Grand Prix post-race show, and we will see how that will go. I remember one time some music was maybe played from the Formula 1 team, the Formula F1 stuff. And then it didn't end well. So, yeah. And we will... see, where did I stop playing? Oh, here. Let's see. We can... and we need to place... go away with the wood and the fishes. And then I will probably go back and keep mining. It was more trees here yesterday. Then after yesterday, some more trees got removed by fire. So there's only... oh, here we have it. Only 1, 2, 3, 4 trees left standing. I wouldn't say I had any plans to remove the trees, but because they got removed, maybe I can have blossom trees here instead, with some flowers. But this is depressing. This is... so, sometime after PewDiePie started playing Minecraft, this is when these trees was maybe planted. So, on that year. And now it's gone. Only... so the oldest tree around this place is this now. The beautiful dark oak tree also got removed by the lightning strikes. And the fir trees from this place got also removed by lightning strikes. And then we have also this beautiful view of what an Enderman can ruin your nice mountain place. And one day I will actually place moss blocks, so it will look a lot of green, almost like I've done over there with the snow biome look like. But it will be like grass hill, like what modded Minecraft will always do. The dirt block will be fully grass. But yeah, let's do the more less fun stuff, like placing stuff in the chest. And then we will start the reaction of the F1. Okay, we maybe can skip somewhat.
Max Verstappen back to the top step of a Formula 1 podium. Perhaps no shock in that, but what we got behind was a thrilling race here at one of the most...
thrilling. Maybe half thrilling.
phenomenal racing circuits in the entire world. The Japanese Grand Prix rarely disappoints, and it didn't disappoint today. A brilliant race, and we're going to go through it all now.
Oh, James Wows! Oh my god, this is start already depressing.
Straight show here from the paddock at the Suzuka International Circuit. Hello, folks. Welcome to your post-race show with me, Will Buxton, Jack Doohan, and we've been joined right at the top of the show by James Wells. Thank you so much for joining us, James, because the race itself was red flagged on the first lap after a big accident between Daniel Ricciardo and Alex Albon. So, James, first questions first. Most important thing, how's Alex doing?
Yeah, thank you for asking. He's good. Just sat with him for a little bit inside the catering facility. He's obviously mentally frustrated by what happened, but physically he's fine, and that's the most important to me. That both Daniel and him walked away. It's a big shunt. There's a lot of damage from it, but he is okay in as much as no damages to him.
It's been the most difficult couple of weeks for your team, given what happened in Australia, the fallout and the ramifications from that. Again here this weekend with the FP1 crash for Logan, taking out one set of your upgrades, and now the crash to Alex as well. I know it's probably too early to tell, but with the question marks over and that you've answered about the fact you won't have another tub until we get to Miami, do you have any idea of the damage to the tub after that crash?
We sent someone out. The car was sitting around about inside turn 5. They've taken some pictures of it. I suspect, as I'm here with you now, it will be delivered back to the front. It looks like a little bit of damage again on the front right. Complete coincidence, obviously, but let's see how bad it is when we get there. It looks like it's repairable to me, but that was through images taken. I think you described it well. The last 2 weeks have been tough. I think take any team to have 3 major accidents where you've pretty much taken out all equipment on the car is enormous, and taking that across the season you can deal with it. Taking it across just a few races is difficult, and the impact of it will be what you expect. We're making spares as quickly as possible in the background, but ultimately performance will have an impact on it. We can't bring as many updates, or updates that were on the car unfortunately are broken, so we've got to build those stocks back up and get going again. Just
the frustration in that from your perspective, from the entire team's perspective. You work so hard to bring upgrades to the car this early in the season, and 2 crashes have ultimately put them all in the skip for you.
Pretty much, you described it well. Hopefully we can recycle some of those bits, but no, they're pretty much gone. I think the main thing is this.
I mean, man, so depressing. I mean, I at least have this crash after you got at least points in 2 races, but after not getting even points, that's depressing.
One of the huge strengths of this organization is resilience. It's been through so much across the last 10 years. We're going to pick ourselves up and get going again. And what I'm encouraged by is Logan in that race was fighting forward against other competitors around him, same age tires, and overtaking them. And that just gives me encouragement that the race package we have isn't bad. We weren't there in Melbourne, but here we were there or thereabouts, and it's incredibly tight. All the way from basically RB Visa, from us to Alpine. There's nothing between those teams. And the encouragement I take is that we're going to pick ourselves back up, come to China, and come back swinging.
Logan, a bit of an off at the end. Was that just indicative of how hard he was pushing?
Pretty much. I think he was, all of the drivers were pretty much right on the edge there. It's just a tiny, tiny lot going into 8, I think it was. And put him off track there. Fortunately able just to grab reverse and get the car back out. No damage I could immediately see.
Wonderful stuff. Well, we look forward to China. We hope you have 2 cars on the track for that. But thank you for your time, James. Hopes it gets a bit easier for you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks so much. Big thanks to James for giving us his time and such a wonderful explanation of what happened there. Jack, towards the end, we spoke about it a little bit. That lock-up for Logan at the end, as James said, just pushing on, you know, trying to get those laps in at the end, trying to push forwards. Just everybody really on the edge today, but a big moment for him, and then obviously trying to pull that back on track.
Yeah, it's quite difficult.
Man, I mean, the only good thing is he didn't crash, and he also got away from it
throughout the stage of that race. You know, not only from your Williams, but also from Lando into turn 11. We saw Carlos locking up in the last chicane. Everyone was on the limit, really trying to extend the life of those tyres and go as far as they could. And it's a place where into turn 9, Degner 2, there's just no room for error. We saw Charles almost go off track there as well, the lap before he boxed onto that second set. And Logan, unfortunately, just catching the lock a little bit earlier. And once you lock, the track falls away a little bit as you get to the apex there too. So there's no chance of getting that right inside tyre back on the ground, which inevitably means no rotation and a quick trip to the gravel.
The race, of course, was red flagged on that first lap, about a half-hour delay until it got running properly. That first lap incident, it's so tight. I mean, for folks back at home, this isn't your normal kind of race circuit. It's very, very narrow, and trying to send 20 F1 cars through that tight and twisting section, and the slightest of touches between the two of them.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. Lap 1, no one ever wants to go out, and the stoppage was we don't typically see crashes in that part of the circuit. You know, it's not typically somewhere where we're potentially going side by side to the mid corner, or especially losing the car that early on. So it's a shame, obviously, for the red flag. However, Daniel maybe thought that he had Lance just pulling up slightly on his left, Albon on his right, opens up the corners, you know, half a meter too wide, and the clip's done. You know, right rear puncture sends him into the barrier. Alex off track. There's only about, you know, 15, 20 meters or more of runoff before you're into the wall. So, yeah, a huge unfortunate chain of events.
Yeah, very unfortunate chain of events. We can hear from both drivers involved in that incident, Daniel Ricciardo and Alex Albon.
Hey Daniel, we saw it was a bit of a
Not
squeeze
a good day for the car, dude.
Turn 3. Just talk me through your view of what happened as everyone kind of concertinaed.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah, they definitely kind of concentrated behind us. Everyone who started on the soft, well, at least the cars in front on the medium looked a fair okay, but yeah, myself and Yuki had a pretty poor getaway on the medium, and all the cars behind on the soft just, yeah, got us quite easily, and we were just kind of scrabbling, obviously, for some grip. And by turn 2 it settled a little bit, but then I remember getting out of 2 quite still with a little bit of lack of traction, and I remember an Aston on my left, so I was kind of watching that car, and then as I was starting to drift to open up 3, I felt Alex. So I think, yeah, just I saw he's on board, and he just had so much better drive out of 2. I don't even know if he wanted to be there, but yeah, you could see me kind of going a little bit sideways, and yeah, just I think as you probably said, just everyone kind of got choked up, and that was that. So yeah, unfortunately a short Sunday.
What's your kind of overriding emotion from this weekend? There was kind of a little bit of a peak yesterday. It felt like you were making progress. We didn't get to see what you've kind of done with the car today. So how do you feel right now?
Yeah, I mean, a lap 1 incident is definitely like the worst thing as a driver, because yeah, after yesterday, as you said, yeah, we were feeling all right last night and excited for a good day today, and it kind of all fell away straight away, obviously on the start, and then the incident. So yeah, there's like this massive build up, and then.
But even if he had a good race, maybe he will still not get any points, but he will maybe learn more about the car.
You feel like I now got all this energy that I don't really know what to do with, so it's obviously racing. It happens every now and then, which is part of it. I think, yeah, just trying to watch Yuki's race, see what we can learn from that. And yeah, I test here on Tuesday, so I'll get the laps back that I lost today.
All right, hard luck, Daniel. Thank you. Hey, Alex.
No, Alex Albon.
Not make many corners in this Grand Prix. Just talk me through how you saw that opening sequence.
Yeah, not too much really. I think had not a great start, but obviously a bit better than the medium tyres, and had good traction coming up turn 2. Yeah, that was it really. Just I don't think Daniel saw me, and then it was just a bit of a pinching moment, so I tried to back out a bit, but couldn't quite get out the way quick enough. So yeah, it was a tough one to take. Obviously we're not in a great position as a team with parts and just general damage for the car, so yeah, very frustrating, and obviously just disappointing. We need to bounce back and get ready for China.
How much damage do you think there is from the car at this stage? How big did it feel?
Honestly, it wasn't like a big crash, but the way that I hit the wall, it was a tyre wall, which we don't have that many tyre walls anymore in Formula 1, and the way the tyre went under the car and it gripped the car, so the car went from a good amount of speed to 0 really quickly. I'm just worried. I didn't get a good look at it because it's under the tyres, but yeah, hopefully it's okay.
Right, hard luck. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully it will not be a lot of damage. Because, man, so much not fun stuff for Williams this year.
Yeah, an early bath for both Alex Albon and Daniel Ricciardo. a very different set of fortunes for these two. Max Verstappen, your race winner, and Sergio Perez, a strong P2 for Red Bull today. Right, talking of disappointments, Jack, let's get this out of the way so we don't leave you hanging for the whole show. Alpine, really disappointing day for the team. I know that contact between the two early on in the race today, and from what I understand, Pierre having a huge loss of downforce, but a difficult day.
Yeah, unfortunate, both suffering from points of downforce loss, and then it just unfortunately affected the whole race, starting from there. However, we had a stronger qualifying, steps forward in that department. The race, it was never going to be easy. We just made it a little bit more difficult for ourselves, but we're taking the positives. That's all we can do at the moment. As well, we had a great range of pit stops. The boys and all the mechanics, everyone, boys and girls, were working really hard on that department, and we executed them all really well. So we've got to take...
Man, this band, man. All this work to make a great pit stop, and that it doesn't even show. Man,
the wins, and we're looking forward to Shanghai and the comeback stronger.
And you brought your first set of upgrades here this weekend, a new front wing being the sort of the headline part of that team. Happy with responses from the drivers on those?
I think, yeah, we saw glimpses of it. It's still very, very early days. There's pluses and minuses like everything, but hopefully a small step in the right direction, and we're just going to, like I said, keep going forward.
A disappointing day, difficult day also for Sauber.
Probably they will, but man, the start is so bad. So you wonder, can I actually do that?
Joe Guan Yu ultimately with what we believe is a gearbox issue for him. Certainly, I walked up there during the race and the garage area absolutely stank of gearbox oil, so I'm guessing that's what the problem was. Valtteri Bottas today, at one point, looked like he was massively in the hunt for points. Was ahead of Sonoda.
Yeah,
He got that last
and then
point,
he got
in P10, but we got 5 cars into the pits at once, a jumbling up of the order, and from that point on, his race kind of tailed off.
Yeah, it didn't seem like they were so strong at the end there. That pit stop was hectic. I think we saw 5 cars almost like fighting for position in a single lane pit stop. I thought the same as you. Unfortunate very much for Joe. Gearbox issue. Smelt that very early on when he was coming into the pits for quite a few times. But yeah,
oh my god!
I think maybe that they had a little bit more potential, but clearly just
fucking
dying off.
Scare.
I don't know if it was when the track temp, as we saw over the course of the race, was just dropping and the car slightly going away from its working window, opposite to what we saw from both Red Bulls.
What sparked the first set of pit stops that had actually put Valtteri Bottas into that really prime position to fight for points, bizarrely enough, was actually the terrible start that Nico Hülkenberg got in the Haas. That second start, he was sitting inside the point.
Yeah, so it was second start. I thought I remember it right. So, Nico Hülkenberg, really bad start.
It's P10, car bogged down. He dropped all the way down. You see him there just falling all the way down to last place. Haas decided to bring him in, take him off the soft tyres he was on, slam him on the hard tyres. And Jack, I've got to say, those early laps for Nico Hülkenberg on those hard tyres, for me, that's what made RB jump in with Yuki. It's what made Sauber jump in with Valtteri Bottas, because they could see the pace on those hard tyres. And at that point, we were scratching our heads thinking, well, how long is everyone else going to stay out on the soft? Who's going to jump onto these hards? Because the early laps on the hard tyre were so good. And ultimately, that strategy from Haas brought Nico Hülkenberg all the way back through to a P11 finish, so nearly points for them again.
So nearly, but so far.
Yeah.
But, yes, you're starting on the soft tire on that restart, and you want to have a good start. You're having
that's why I don't find it. It's wrong place.
Gain a couple meters, and hopefully, you go further up into the points. And he got exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
It clearly wasn't a wheel spin issue. Something happened and gone to the back of the field. But I was surprised, just as you, on how quickly he was back, to the front, or not to the front of that midfield. After those pit stops came about, he didn't seem to lose anything really from that.
There is a massive amount of people and noise behind us, which can mean only one thing here in Japan, and it's the fact that Yuki Tsunoda is with us. What a drive, dude. What a drive. Getting a selfie.
Man, and that pit stop. He got past people, and then he just drove for points after that pit stop. While Kevin Magnusson drove for losing
position. All over the place. Yuki, P10 points at home in such a tightly congested midfield. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for the team?
Yeah, very special, even P10, I feel like, probably it's too big things to say, but I feel like I scored P1, but at the same time, yeah, big credit to the team that the team able to have on the map like very fast pit stop and able to rejoin to the track in front of Aston's, and without that work I wouldn't able to score points today. So big credit to the team, and obviously also the Japanese fans who support me all the week this week, and yeah, amount of energy I got every lap from them was definitely a special feeling.
It was a very long race. It felt like not the start that I think you and Daniel would have both liked, losing a row. And then the first half of the race seeming like it potentially, from my point of view, it wasn't going so to plan, but then to come back, rescue it, get to P10. How was it from your point of view?
Yeah, we struggled at the start, the first start. We were wearing medium, and the two cars behind, House and Steak was wearing soft, so probably there was advantage for soft, and I lost the position. I was a bit disappointed, you know, but at the same time, I was able to regain that 2 position at the restart after I wore the soft. So I think I did very well there, and regained there at the start. And yeah, after that, just the pace was good, you know, just feeling comfortable. And obviously I lost a bit of position at the pit stop, I would say, in the first pit stop. But after that, still the pace was good, and in the end, the team did a like superhero job. You know, like I feel like Supermans were doing pit stop. You know,
Superman
like,
pit
crazy.
crew.
And, yeah, I was very happy.
Yuki, we've got to let you go, but before we do, those moves around the outside through the S's, just where did they come from, man? They were amazing.
Yeah, I knew that we're not amazing in the straight line speed this week. Only place that we're quite good compared to other competitors compared to top midfield was the first sector, and I just had a pretty good confidence that I was able to overtake outside, and yeah, it was speed, wasn't it? I think
smashed it.
Yeah, it's good.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's good. Just
the Superman, like, Yuki Superman.
Was doing, overtaking
Yuki
outside
Superman drive.
Should be very proud of the performance today, man.
So,
it was amazing.
Thank you.
We've got to let you go. I'm so sorry.
Thanks,
he's very much in demand today, as Yuki Tsunoda. Great job, man. Great job. Yuki off for a million other interviews today. Great to have him on the show. Lance Stroll just outside the points in P12. Not very happy with his car today. We'll talk Aston Martin in a little bit. Kevin Magnussen, P13. Again, had quite a strong race and was in that fight for the points, but Hülkenberg on the fresh tyres coming through at the end. Jack, shall we discuss Mercedes at this?
Dive in.
Man, they are so great. Lewis Hamilton even shows how much he approves this great car. And this car, for some reason, Max Verstappen would wanna join. Wonder why. Did Toto Wolff say something about? Wait, don't I have any more chests? Well, until I go and get some more.
Into it. Let's dive into it. What did you make of the race they ran today, the strategy they employed? George Russell, obviously, with the pace at the end for the P7. Lewis Hamilton down in P9.
You know, it's a replication of qualifying. No pluses, no minuses, really. I think it was looking quite strong in the middle of the race there, especially I think they were trying to extend. I was thinking that they were going to go for longer on that medium tire, but it just didn't seem like potentially Lewis was complaining very early on. I think 9 laps in, he was on the hard tire, complaining that the front was dead. You know, even willing to let George pass before they'd even offered, unless we didn't hear something earlier on the radio. So very not happy with the car. George seeming to be more comfortable, and then they just gradually seemed to fall back. Every time after the pit stop, it was just the pace was dropping. So I'm sure
wasted
if I was in their
iron.
position, not happy at all. Maybe there's something that they can see from the inside, because the drivers were quite low on the radio. I didn't hear a lot of complaining, a lot of at fault, apart from Lewis, you know, being very assertive that his front right was dead a couple of times.
We have to let you go, Jack. We've got to go and take a plane back home to Australia. But before we do, anything else you want to talk about? What was who was your driver of the day?
My driver of the day, I think Carlos.
Yeah, he had a great one, didn't he?
He had a great one again.
Carlos Sainz, no. not in my opinion. The drive, I mean, I would say the pit crew for Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki Tsunoda and the pit crew is my driver of the day.
You know, the Ferrari we knew wasn't the strongest it's been here, and he rescued a podium yesterday. P4. Very early on, you could see that Lando was struggling, and even at the end there, he had to rescue a lot to come back to that podium. Obviously on the fresher tyres, but he made good, decisive moves, made it when it counted, put others under pressure, and came back to P3. And then we were just speaking before as well, only 5 points away from his teammate and in P3, and missing one round. So
yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
Oh my God.
Incredible stuff.
Thank
Jack,
you so much.
it's always a real pleasure, mate. Thank you very much. Always a real pleasure to have you on our shows. We appreciate it more than you know. Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Safe travels back to Australia. We will see Jack in China. And for now, though, Ariana Bravo has caught up with Toto Wolff.
Man, Toto Wolff must be really happy with this race. I mean, he can celebrate the George Russell at least finish the race P7. I mean, that's something. Really great news for Mercedes.
Toto, so P7 and P9, could you just talk us through how you're feeling immediately after that one?
Well, we had an atrocious first stint, which we need to analyze why. Very good second and third stint. And that is the positive that we take from the race. It is live testing now for us. We've been on the back foot, and besides our shoes for 2 seasons, and now we've taken a different direction, and I think this is happening.
You mentioned there it's live testing. Do you feel like you have been able to get a better understanding of the car across this weekend?
Much better. Yeah, definitely much better. Lots more data that point.
Yeah, a lot more data that will say nothing for you. More data that you can scratch your head and asking, why do we still get this kind of data? It still doesn't tell us if this is good or bad.
That's in the right direction, even if it's not reflected in the result.
Well, it was definitely reflected in Lewis's attitude across the weekend. He was sounding very positive every time I spoke to him. But what is the next step now between now and China?
I think I can't wait to go racing in Shanghai.
With your car, or do you just want to see how good Red Bull is, or how good Max Verstappen is? If you want to, I mean, trying to get him over to your team.
Need to have a better start of the weekend. Some of the proof of concept that we've done here, we will be on the car, and then see what we can do in Shanghai.
And you mentioned for this weekend, part of the reason you wanted to be here is because the team were experimenting with different things. How have those experiments gone? Are you feeling more optimistic looking ahead then?
Yes, they've gone much better. The experiments have worked. I think what I said, we have a clear direction, even though the qualifying and race result doesn't reflect it at all.
After almost 3 years, you can say 2 years and start of the 3rd year. Now Mercedes will have a direction of where to go. So that's good.
We've aimed for a 1-stop, and then we found out it wasn't possible. We've probably overmanaged the tires, but the moment we have picked up the speed on the similar stint lengths like the others, we were competitive.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to seeing how you go in Shanghai. Thank you very much, Toto.
Med pågens färska hönekaka är sommaren bara en tugga bort.
And we'll probably see how bad they still are. But how often can you say that you have done some progress with your car and still show nothing for it? And still act like you're still doing it?
Hönö, gör livet en smula godare.
Upptäck nya Brown Series 9 skäggtrimmer. Professionell precision och 100% kontroll.
A big thanks to Ariana and Toto Wolff there, ladies and gentlemen. That's Alex Shakes.
Hello, Will Buxton.
Did you enjoy that one?
I did enjoy that. There was a lot going on throughout. Once we decided things out front, and I think from the start, it looked like Max was, once he got that second start nailed, goodbye to him. We knew that Checo was just feeling more confident this weekend, proved it out on track. And I loved his comment afterwards, where he was like, oh, I tell you what, if it's working here.
Yeah.
So that was nice to see him back in a confident place. And then just constant moves.
If this works here, it will work really good in every race.
Constant strategy, constant action throughout. I always enjoy them. Like, sometimes I have to, I come off and I'm like, well, that was fun, because it was fun. It was a Formula 1 race in Japan. But no, I did enjoy that.
Yeah, we loved it. It was a great race, mate. Great call. We just heard from Toto Wolff. You may have caught the tail end of that. He said it's now live testing for us every weekend. This new philosophy of car we've made inroads this year. This weekend. We've definitely got a better feeling with the car. But I mean, it's flip positions on where they start. It's still a P7, P9 for Mercedes, but P7, P9 for Mercedes is not where they expect to be.
The progress P9 and P7. I mean, that is really great progress for Mercedes. Can you really ask for better start for Mercedes than this? I mean, it would almost be heresy to act like this start isn't the greatest of all time for Mercedes. Man, that scared me. And not because it was a creeper exploding and trying to kill me. That the first sound effect sounded like I ruined some lava. That's what I'm most scared of. That I put down water that will turn lava to obsidian. But no, it was just a creeper. Holy shit.
It's not anywhere near what we've come to expect from them. But they've got to dig themselves out of trouble. The only way they're going to dig themselves out of trouble is trying something slightly different, not going with the traditional setup, testing the parameters. So that means a few more races pain. But the one thing for them, look at McLaren last year. Once you understand where to go.
Yeah, copium. I mean, look, McLaren, Aston Martin, they did it. Of course, Aston Martin, after 3 years, they will also be able to do that. Surely. I mean, why wouldn't they? Of course they will. The Mercedes will always make a great car. Mercedes will never make mistakes.
Progress, even if it's going to take a couple of races into the season.
Great unintentional segue, because we're about to hear from Oscar Piastri.
Hey Oscar, it looked like a pretty busy day out there for you out on track. How did you feel with the result at the end of the day?
Yeah, busy race. Obviously, you know, not fighting for the positions that we wanted to be in, but yeah, just struggled. I think on my side, it's not been the best of weekends. I think also as a team, we struggled a bit more today than we expected to as well. So yeah, a lot of reflection and things to try and get on top of next time. But yeah, that was not the afternoon we were looking for.
Really tight battle with the guy next to you, George, at the chicane. What's your kind of read of how that all went down?
I mean, yeah, it was pretty hard racing, of course. Yeah, bit of wheel banging in the end. He got in front anyway, so yeah, tried my best, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, right, Alonso almost helped you out that.
At one point, it was looking like Oscar Piastri was going to be up after Alonso and maybe bring home the McLaren's line astern. So it was going to be 2 Red Bulls, 2 Ferraris, 2 McLarens. As it was, Fernando played the wily game, backed him up into George Russell. A great fight at the end, but ultimately, perhaps just a small mistake from Oscar. I thought I saw a puff of smoke down at that chicane, which allowed George onto the back of him.
He'd driven really well to get himself into that position. The problem is, Fernando Alonso has all the tools, all the tricks. He's got tactics for days. And that is the difference between a driver that started in 2001, one of the great all-time drivers, and someone who we have to remember. It's only his 2nd season in Formula 1. He's still learning racecraft like that. Not the best result for him, but a massive learning experience.
But he turned 23 a couple of days ago.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
He's still got so much time ahead of him.
You know, that's 19 years to go if he goes to Fernando.
Well, he's about as old as Fernando's done years in Formula 1. So, yeah.
No.
Sam Collins.
Alonso is not that old. Come on.
Those incidents between Piastri and Russell, because
he's
as
young.
Oscar intimated in that interview, little bit of wheel banging, Sam.
Yeah, I'm having a look at this back, Will, and I'm just going to go back to the first footage. I was going to start with the onboard cameras, but having heard that interview, I just want to take a little bit of a closer look. You've got Oscar Piastri in the McLaren in front, George Russell behind. Let's just take another look at what happened, because George Russell is trying to move up the field, and the only place he's going up to is race control at 1:15 to have a word whether he forced the McLaren driver off track. Now, here we see it all looks okay, but as the two cars approach 130R...
Yeah, and this is where Russell is mean to Oscar
normal
Piastri.
Overtaking spot round Suzuka. Russell's having a look to see if he can catch up, go round the outside. Perhaps Piastri has gone defensive here, trying to get into the apex first. So we'll see how they play this one out. And I'm going to try to play it forward slightly slower than we've seen it, and just run it forwards to see, because I want to see if there is this buffer smoke from Piastri's car. I don't see a little lock-up. Piastri's moving left as he's able to do. Russell sees the opportunity, tries to come down the inside here. Now look, the door is wide open for the Mercedes driver, but he's got to get to the apex and still leave room for the McLaren to go round the outside of the corner.
Yeah, true.
Piastri can't shut the door at this point on the Mercedes driver, but let's see what happens. Piastri stays high, looks towards the apex. Now at this point, there is racing room, but Piastri needs to keep his line fairly wide to make sure that there is space for Russell. They are fully alongside each other at this point. And then we come in and, a little bit of contact. Did Russell leave enough racing room? Let's have a look back. Just wind that back slightly. He's pulling wide on the exit of this corner.
Yeah,
and look,
true.
there is a bit of space to come up to the apex for Piastri here. But I think Russell is now beginning to run the Australian driver a little bit out of room. A little bit of contact between the two. Piastri sees the danger and decides to exit stage left and holds the position as a result of that. The FIA are going to be taking a look at this and saying, did Russell force Piastri off track? Well,
yes.
I'm not sure he really did. I think that Russell might get away with this, but it could be put down as a straight racing incident. But as they got to the apex, obviously Piastri held the position, did it off track, but I think that was okay. There wasn't any room for the McLaren. And so I wonder, it's going to be an interesting one, what the FIA come up with, and we'll probably hear about that in about an hour's time, I'd say, Will.
I think that's a fairly easy one, isn't it, Alex?
I'd love to disagree, make some interesting telly, but I think that's a racing incident, and I think it's...
All right, no, it's a slam dunk then, he should definitely... yeah, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, really, isn't it?
I think Oscar's bailed out. He's seen the danger there. He's bailed out. Russell's not forced him. I don't think Russell's forced him off the road there, but I've been wrong about Stewart's decisions in the past.
Yeah, I mean, there's well over at least half or 3/4 a car there. I mean, I know you have to leave a whole car, but yeah.
I think they'll shrug and they'll move on.
Yeah, you can't really argue that one, can you? Good day for Lando Norris.
No, Russell should get a race ban. That was dangerous driving, and Oscar Piastri was so close to maybe crash out. So he should get a penalty.
Bad day for Lando Norris, expecting, hoping for a podium. In the end, though, the might, the power of those Ferraris, we thought that race pace that they'd shown through their long runs earlier in the weekend might have been on slightly lower fuel. As it turned out, great race pace, great race management from both those guys. Will Lando be disappointed at the end of today's Grand Prix?
No, because I think he knew it was coming. I think he knew it was coming from the very start of the...
He also said that he wasn't surprised by Ferrari being good. Let's see, should I remove? Yeah, why not?
The weekend when we were asking him questions and he was saying, well, look, Ferrari have made a big step over the winter. Yes, we were great here when we were here in September. It doesn't feel that long ago. I think McLaren were aware that Ferrari had the edge. I think what he'll be disappointed about is being leapfrogged by Charles Leclerc.
The good news is I've heard Lawrence Barretto's just got Lando Norris in front of him, so we can throw there now.
Okay, Lando, P5 today, I got it right for today. How did the car feel out there? It looked like you had the pace early on in that phase. I thought you were fighting for P2 and it kind of fell away. Maybe I was...
No, never had the pace today, so it was tough. Just trying to cover a lot of things and trying to stay ahead, but on a track like this, it's the opposite thing of what you want to do. So I think that's a good day. Doesn't look nice, starting third, finishing fifth. So you shouldn't be happy with it, but I think we didn't have any more pace today. Clearly the Ferraris were another level to us, so...
I mean, being better than Mercedes should always be... Oh my god. This scared me so much. Oh, globe berries. And a name tag. Mean. Man. This scared me. Let's see, where can I go? Man, do I even... God damn it. You know, I should get up to where I want to be. Yeah, back to Norwich.
Did what we could, which is not enough. So tough car, felt pretty tricky today, especially with the harder conditions. Like as soon as it cooled down, the pace came back to us a little bit, but in the harder conditions at the start, in the middle, we were way too far off. So let's say a little bit as expected. We hoped for a little bit more, but that's what we had.
Generally, compared to last year, and you hinted at this yesterday, it does look like you've closed the gap at least versus last year. The performance of the car, it feels like you.
I finished 17 seconds behind the win last year, and now I'm 29. So.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. You got me there. Thanks.
Facts are facts.
Let's see what number this.
This year, now I'm 29. So.
At least versus last year, the performance of the car, it feels like you.
I finished 17 seconds behind the win last year, and now I'm 29. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The Formula 1 reporter trying to say it looks good, and then actually no, it looks worse.
Okay, fair enough. You got me there. Thanks.
Facts are facts.
Thanks,
Poor Lawrence. Poor Lando.
Yeah.
17 to 29. Yeah, that's a big difference. A big difference. Talking about a big difference, we talked a little bit about Lance Stroll. Not a lot. Not happy with the car today.
Nice.
Fernando seemingly overjoyed with the car this weekend. He only had one practice session to get up to speed with the upgrades.
Just suiting him straight out of the box. Very encouraging, and encouraging that they can move that car forward with the race pace, because it's been a very strange situation where it's looked phenomenal. And he looks great. Usually on a Friday, he looks phenomenal when he does his quali sim. Backed it up. Best start here for a decade at the start of the day, and then backed it up again with strong racecraft. Punchy at the start to put him on the soft. They'll be happy. Fernando will be happy with that.
P6.
Yeah,
absolutely. We roll then to talk about Ferrari. Charles Leclerc P4, Carlos Sainz P3. When you were up in the comm box, at what point did you and Jolie and twig, you know what? He's one stopping.
When the lap times were so consistent and so effective, when he took it beyond lap 20, you're like, okay, this is decent, because you're behind the scenes in the commentary box. Yeah. You start looking at the lap times at that point because you're expecting the drop off. It didn't materialize. That was a superb stint, and built his race. Phenomenal.
Nobody thought that was.
And that made him driver of the day, I think.
Thought it was a minimum 2 stops today, maybe a 3 stop. Literally on the fly, making the decisions as you go out there, because we hadn't had these conditions. The tyres all look pretty similar in terms of wear. Was that just supreme racecraft from Charles?
Yes.
Mixed with a bit of a gamble from Ferrari?
Carlos Sainz would never succeed with that.
You've always got the ability to bail out and try and charge late on.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
So you've got the chance to find out, and they would have known pretty early on. Yes, this is working. This is working. He's pulling it off. Wouldn't be his most thrilling Grand Prix behind the wheel, because this is a circuit that they love attacking, and he would have had to manage and manage and manage. Yep. But he got the job done. Improved from 8th on the grid. Solid work.
And finds himself just 4 points ahead of Carlos Sainz, who's missed a race this year, which shows us the job Carlos is doing.
We've been talking about it. Look at the drivers who are performing incredibly well. Yuki Tsunoda knows his future is not
Lewis Hamilton.
Sergio Perez knows his contract runs out at the end of the year.
And Lewis Hamilton.
Getting on with that Red Bull wonderfully. And Carlos Sainz shown the door, had to go through launching the car with the Ferrari blazer on, had to answer all these questions, and has channeled it wonderfully into the form of his life.
Lewis
Nothing
Hamilton,
like a little bit of motivation.
As we were saying in the pre-race show, every weekend it's another phenomenal line in that CV that you're taking to potential team bosses and saying,
wait, not Lewis Hamilton?
That's me.
He's doing the deal right about now, isn't he? He's got the win, he's on the podium every single race that he's started this year.
It was Toto who said earlier in the weekend he thinks that a major
race Leclerc was, so what do you mean?
driver move will be signed within the next couple of weeks. I would
Second race, I think it was.
I think you're right.
I'm with you.
We can actually look that up. Saudi Arabia. Yeah, Saudi Arabia, because he missed that race. Oh, did he say every race he was in? Then it's true, because he wasn't in this race.
Let's take a look at the championship standings, the drivers' championship standings after the race, because this is entirely what we're talking about. 4 races into the season. Max Verstappen only 77 plays 64, so there's 13 points. It's not as vast as it would be, but of course Max had that DNF last time out in Australia. Then this is the interesting one. 50. Oh, it's gone. It's gone. Can you wind it back? Can't, can you? This graphic only goes one way.
Checo up to second place in the championship.
Checo up to second place.
Charles in third.
Nice.
We've got Carlos closing in.
Oh, they've wound it back.
Oh,
brilliant. There we go.
very much.
Charles on 59 and Carlos on 55. It's gone.
Lando Norris. Oscar Piastri. You've been doing this a long time, mate. What's happened?
Luckily, I'll tell you what's happened. Ariana Bravo's found Fred Vasseur.
Oh, Fred Vasseur.
Fred, congratulations on the podium there. I would say well-executed day for the team. How do you look at that?
Yeah, I think it was a good Sunday for the team, that tire management was under control, the pace was there, the strategy went well, the pit stop went well also. If we missed something this weekend, I think it's more yesterday that we have to do a better job in quali, but today it went very well.
Can we just reflect on how impressed you are with each driver? Charles pulling off that one stop, tyre management was incredible, and driver of the day, and then Carlos as well on the podium again. He's doing well, isn't he?
They did a very good job. That we knew that the strategy and the race will be a bit different for Charles starting from P8, that he will have to manage the track position, and it's why we decided quite early into the race to go for this one. It went very well, and it worked very well because he was able to manage the tires in a proper way. It was perhaps not the optimum on clean air, but it was the optimum for him. And that we can be pleased with what they did, even what they did on track, because they were not on the same strategy. They didn't lose a single tenth on second between them, and it was a perfect job.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Gillette Labs nya Neon Night Edition. En rakhyvel olik alla andra. En unik exfolierande rensa. Rengör huden framför bladen för en effektiv och bekväm rakning. Upplev en smidig rakning i varje drag med Gillette Labs. Med blad som håller 50% längre.
Alltså jag trodde inte jag behövde Swiffer. Tills jag såg hur lätt den plockade upp mitt hår varje gång jag torkat det.
Scammad question mark.
Wow! Den fångar till och med hans hår på någon minut. Kolla här! Och till damm har jag bästa dammvippan. Den fångar och håller kvar dammet utan att lyfta en enda pryl. Swiffer, så rent, så enkelt.
Lovely to hear from Fred there with Ariana. Right, we've talked about Carlos, a brilliant run from him today, as we are expecting this season. Checo and Max. It's another 1-2 for Red Bull Racing, as we've come to expect over recent years, but it felt like Checo made a real step forward this weekend, mate.
Yeah, all the way through.
Step forward? He never did a step backward.
Every session. Just a confidence and an understanding. We keep coming back to that word of understanding. If you roll out of the box at the start of practice and it's not working, you start chasing it. You chase it in the wrong direction. 2 tenths turns into 4 tenths, turns into half a second, turns into the team's shoulders on your side of the garage going down.
Time to
He's
change
got him up.
pickaxe.
He's got him up. He's got him motivated. He's incredibly motivated. He wants to stay with the best team in Formula One. And it's really nice to see him back on the front foot after some tough moments last year. It's great to see the Checo that built his chance with this team, with underdog performances, getting mastery out of the tyres and earned his shot, and it's great that it's been a good start to the season for him.
The question marks have existed over whether Checo would have a continued relationship with Red Bull for such a long time, and every time we discuss
Not for me.
we get grief about it. But I've got to say, standing here right now, I've never in the last 18 months remembered a time where I thought there was less of a question mark over Checo continuing at the team, because he's just doing everything right.
Bringing home the 1-2s.
Yeah.
Bringing home the 1-2s all the while. Said in Australia, I don't think Max would have won that race. That was an outlier for them. So,
he could try to win the race. The biggest problem was, maybe, if this is true, the Sir Perez ruined his floor. I mean, if that's true, he will have a terrible day trying to do anything with that car.
The job. If you're constructive champions of the world and your driver keeps coming home in first and your other driver keeps coming home in second, why would you rock the boat?
You wouldn't.
Yes.
Makes no sense. Makes no sense. Right. So
wait, you didn't even mention that Max Verstappen will surely leave Red Bull to go to Mercedes. I mean, I just look at them. He can fight for P9 or P7. Most greatest thing ever you can do in Formula 1. When you are in so-called top team behind Aston Martin.
Time to hear from your top three. Carlos Sainz, Sergio Perez, and back on the top step of the podium, Max Verstappen.
Hey Carlos, heck of a fight back, and it's great to see you back on the podium. You must be delighted with the result and the way that you performed and the car performed here.
Are you delighted? No, I'm fucking not. P3. Podium again. Why should I be delighted for that?
Yes, it was a very strong race. It wasn't easy, very strategic, a lot of things going on with tire degradation. 1 stops, 2 stops, whether to use the new, they used medium at the restart. Anyway, I think we nailed a very good race with some good overtakes at the end. Yeah, at one point in the race I thought it was not going to happen, the podium, but then in the last stint, when I put the new hard, the tire gave me a really good feeling and I could push on it and get back to it.
It's another very different track where this Ferraris look strong. Does that bode well for the next couple now as you keep going to very different tracks?
Stronger, yes. Still not at the level of Red Bull. I think Red Bull have the upper hand in this kind of track. But encouraged
better than
to
what
see that
Mercedes
even,
will be.
We had low deck in a
100%.
high deck track, and we could control the tires, and we could put ourselves in a position to do some strategic variability compared to you.
Wait, what?
Encouraged by that.
Okay, so congrats. Third, second place of the
Sorry,
season.
Perez.
Great consistency here, but how tough was that race today to just try and get the most out of the car?
Yeah, it was quite.
Oh my god, what's it called? The defense minister, defense and offensive minister, Sergio Perez from Mexico. He and his dad in politician.
Difficult the first
The
stint,
dangerous
especially.
job
I think
in the
we were
world.
out of balance a bit. We couldn't have the life we wanted, and that compromised our race with Lando pitting so early. We were then out of sync, and meant that our second stint on the medium we had to.
Wait, where did Sergio Perez didn't start? Did he start? Oh yeah, he started P2. Because he actually was so close to get pole position.
Push and come through the traffic, and it was just getting harder and harder for us. So unfortunately, yeah, we just didn't got the life out of those mediums. Initially, the hard I think was good, but it was just a little bit out of sync.
It looks like you found a new confidence with this car, that you found a new consistency. Does it feel like that for you after performing at such a great track like this?
Yeah, you see, when we have issues like on the first stint, we are able to solve them through the race and stuff.
Man, last year was not fun. I mean, Sergio Perez. I mean, driving off in was it qualify Q1 in Australia? Man, that was not fun.
something we lacked last year. So I think we are in a good track. We are performing at a very nice level, but we just have to keep progressing.
Great stuff, thanks, Checo. Hey Max, congratulations on the win. How satisfying is it to have a really complete weekend?
How satisfying? Not at all. It's the worst thing ever. I mean, have you not heard Max Verstappen always hate when he have a good car? He wants to have a Mercedes car. That's why he will leave Red Bull. That team is so much better.
Really, where you've kind of gone through it after
To
a
be
difficult, obviously, race in Australia.
Yeah, I mean,
not
of course we
private.
had a little hiccup in Melbourne, but then of course it's very nice to come back here and yeah, just basically have a perfect weekend. The car was a bit of a question mark going into the race, but I think we made the right calls.
That would be interesting. You usually say that the Japanese fans is amazing. One day, if he will start feeling less that after Honda leaves and they drives with a Ford engine. Who knows? Could be true.
Before we went into qualifying,
That's Japanese fans will be happy with them.
Today, and that's why I think I could just push a little bit more, feel a little bit more comfortable with the balance of the car, and basically on every compound, every
more people will not be happy with
from
them.
the start to the end of the race. I just felt good in the car.
Does it feel like the rest of the field though is starting to breathe down your necks a little bit more? Does it feel like
Yeah, it's Mercedes catching up. They were really close to you. I mean, they finished by P7, P9, but in the qualifying they was so much closer. Are you scared?
like the gap is closing?
I think it just depends a bit on the track layout, and of course it also depends on how well you do your job. You know, every single weekend it's never 100%. Sometimes it's a bit hit and miss for everyone, and of course if you miss it.
Yeah, in Alpine's standard they miss it every race, and stake F1 team Kick Sauber, they make a stake gambling in the pit stops in every race. So
on a weekend where you are anyway already maybe not in yeah, let's say the favorite layout of your car, then of course other people can be stronger or yeah, can be very close.
Okay, so thanks, Max.
yeah, Alpine will soon.
That is the melee that Max Verstappen has to go through here in Suzuka, trying to get back to his motorhome, signing autographs. The race winner. Alex, it is such a delight to be in Japan, no matter when we arrive here, but this weekend, being here so early in the season, I've never seen Suzuka look so beautiful.
Yeah, I thought that as soon as we went on air. I was like, oh, look at that tree, look at that tree, look at that tree, which is not the finest commentary, but it's just a wonderful occasion. And we've been trying to sum up all weekend long why it is so special. And I think one of the key things is the inventiveness, the enthusiasm. But my favorite thing is that everyone is supported. Every single driver has someone supporting them. And
I mean, define supporting. I mean, having just a picture of a person that, I mean, somewhat you can call that supporting. But do they truly support the driver? That's another question.
Everywhere we go,
how far will they go with the support?
No, you're absolutely right. It's
go to every race to see the person.
Crowd that cheers for everyone, respects every
or just go to the closest race.
Of course, they all want Yuki to do well, but they all have their favourites. They always have. It's such a joy to come here.
New names, current names.
Can we do like 3-4 races in Japan a year, please?
Please.
Oh, I'd love that.
I mean, they have 2 places that they can drive in. That they maybe should do. Go back. That, oh my god, what's this race called? Do we have information? Japan. Can I say something about? Nope. Can we go somewhere else so we can see that information? I mean, yes, but I need to have a Let's see. Suzuka, is it called that? Japanese Grand Prix. Yep, Suzuka International Racing Course. Oh, they can go back. We're having that in the end of the season, or close to the end. And then they have the other race that they had at one point when they switched from Suzuka and to the other race. And have that in the start.
Would absolutely love that. Next we are, however, going back to genuinely one of my favourite Grand Prix of the year. I always love visiting China. I can't wait to get back to a circuit which does
Can he be bought by the CCP?
brilliant Grand Prix. And a race that we haven't been to in a good long time. It is, of course.
Oh shit, no. Fucking music can ruin your life. You don't wanna hear the F1 music. It will haunt you in your dreams. It will be a nightmare. Yeah. This information would say nothing because I think it's track time. So it's say nothing if you're not in China. Oh, back without the music.
Alex, looking forward to it.
It comes at you thick and fast. It is immediately up to speed. Oh, things not quite right with the rear of the car. Bad luck. We're straight in. Slight tweak to the format for this year, so it's going to be really, really fun.
Yeah, fucking sprint race. At least they've changed it to the better. Funny enough, an idea I have had thought about that they should do. That they will have the practice, the qualifying, the sprint race, and then the qualifying for the actual race. And then you also can switch up because, I mean, having just one practice, and then you can't change the car even if you know how bad it was in the sprint race. I mean, that's just like then you drive a race, or two races with same bad setup. Why would that be fun? You want to see at least some switch up, and they can now do that. Hopefully they will just remove the sprint race 100% one day, but hey, better to make the worst thing slightly better.
And to see how that changes the order.
And of course on a track that we haven't visited in years.
Absolutely.
I mean, it will change. How much? Probably nothing, but who knows?
Absolutely. And as you said, some of the races that we've had there, ridiculous.
Maybe Lewis Hamilton can fight for P8 instead of P9. I mean, that's a great success for Mercedes.
Ridiculous overtaking.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's an absolute.
If you're Mercedes fan, you will be thrilled to see that.
Looking forward to getting back to Shanghai. It has been a wonderful week here in Japan. My thanks to Jack Doohan, my thanks to Alex Jakes, to all of our guests today, to the crew.
Stop with this music.
Till then.
Wait, didn't they say? Oh, maybe they do that before the race weekend and not after race weekend. Okay, we can go away with that. Okay. Oh, it's now time for P1. God damn it. Clicking wrong, and then I need to watch one more ad from them. Or not from them, but on the video. Sometimes never lucky. Okay, let's... Man, I mean, are you doing equally much progress as Mercedes with the car? I mean, as soon I have two areas that are mined out equally much, and after that Yeah, third place. Remember, the fourth year Mercedes will be good. Come on. Yeah, finally. Then we can go sound on, and then we can. So 2024 Japanese Grand Prix race preview P1 podcast. Let's see what if they had a washed opinion. Remember Kupion talk about Mercedes that maybe they weren't good this race, but surely next race they will be good.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the P1 podcast with Matt and Tommy. Yes, we are here to dive into the Japanese Grand Prix. It's done and dusted, signed, sealed, delivered, and Charles Leclerc leads the... He did actually lead for a few laps, and therefore he was provisionally world champion. But apart from that, we actually had a really good race, didn't we, Tommy? And I'm glad that you also feel the same way, because otherwise I might just think that it's my blind Leclerc fanboys and being happy about 8th to 4th. But no, it was a banger. Not a banger, sorry.
I mean, so much better than what Mercedes succeeded with. So you can actually be happy with that.
It was to be fair, it was a banger for a Max Verstappen domination.
I think there is a little bit skewed from the fact that it feels like so long since we've had a really, really good race. But for me, based on what we've had so far, I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of overtakes, a lot of action. It just shows
tires should be more bad.
That even if Max Verstappen wins and is gone, which he did literally right
but
from
that
the
was
very start,
boring.
As long as there's action elsewhere to keep you entertained, it's enjoyable, and I really enjoyed the race.
Now, the final shout out for the P1 live show. It is alarms are sirening.
Nope.
As well as also meeting other Formula 1.
Nope.
But we do have a question. It's from P1 Patreon member Michaela. What happened to Suzuka being a track that's hard to overtake at?
Yeah, what happened? The tires. It didn't last. The team didn't get the chance to try to make so the tires could last longer. So the tire didn't last longer. And you don't know which tire is the best one. So you take one that you think will be the best one. And then in the race you will see what will actually work and what will not work. But you still don't, you know only the tire you have on. So you don't know then when you switch to the harder tire, or even if you wanna try the soft tires, what will actually work. Or should you not switch after the Alex Albon and Ricciardo crash? Should you do like Alonso? Keep the tire you had on. So so you have different good tires under the whole race.
Just straight up in there. We're gonna buzz off the fact that
we saw some action.
We did see some action.
So we need to talk about it.
The cars are still too big. They still struggle to follow. But the thing that was there was strategy. The tyres can save us.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the strategy. The strategy was they didn't know. So that's why they did what it is.
They can save us from the pits of despair and give us some Grand Prix racing. And that's exactly what it did. We had mobile chicanes like Alpine, Mercedes. It was great to have them in the mix doing something
Mercedes, yeah. They were really in the mix. Man, soon they will be race winner. From P9 to P1.
Slightly different, but it also meant that they were sitting ducks. You had Alonso on the soft tyres going aggressive at the start and then falling a little bit back. You had plenty of things to keep an eye on, which is just so much better for the brain. It's so much more exciting to be figuring it out during the race. Can Alonso hold on? How much longer can he go on the softs compared to Hamilton and Russell on the hards after the red flag?
There were so many things to just keep an eye on, which I personally really enjoyed.
Yeah, like I said at the start of the show, we've still got the same result in that Max Verstappen has cleared off at turn 1. See you later. Bye-bye. Red Bull
Tommy,
are incredibly quick. No, but we are. But this is what I mean. But it just shows that when there is stuff going on in the field, there is so much to enjoy and watch. And it kept you guessing all the time of, like, you know, at the start, people talking about, oh, is this a good call from Mercedes? Is it a bad call? What's Charles Leclerc done? Oh, no,
I recall Mercedes still was bad.
F1 is so much better
if you ask
when
Lewis
there is
Hamilton.
varying strategies, and this race proved it. It's a track that's very difficult to overtake on, but all it takes is just not every single team to start on exactly the same tyre, all pit at the same time. For me, that is the epitome of a dull Formula 1 race when you get everyone starting on the same
almost Monaco
tyre. It's a one stop. Everyone comes into pits at the same time. They come out. There's maybe been a couple of changes in the pit stop, and that's it to the end. And that is unfortunately what we've had for a lot of the season. It felt like there was something going on.
The other would say that's what the tyre were changed a lot. And I mean, somewhat the oh my god, what's it called? Oh, fuck me. When you needed to put in more stuff to make the car last longer. Oh my god. I mean, the tanking. Oh my god, fuck me.
Whether it was an overtake, whether it was a 5-car battle in the pits, which was wild. And yeah, it's just good. I really enjoyed it.
It's almost as if changeable conditions, from obviously it being quite a lot warmer today for the race, and also
that maybe ruined Mercedes' race, being warm.
Having one less practice session and the teams not knowing exactly which tyre to go on makes for better racing.
Or maybe you should just skip the practice and just start qualifying, and then you can really have some mixed up race.
You would almost think that throwing some more curveballs in as Formula 1 would be a good thing. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
The Mercedes will be bad every race.
I know that there are some people out there that are fully focused on a battle for the win, a battle for the championship, and that I understand. I also want a battle for the win, a battle for the championship. But you also have to then just take a step back and go, well, am I going to sit here every single race, hating everything, and going, God, Max, why are you so good the whole time? And
you have already done that. You did that 2022. Oh, maybe Leclerc did you some favors. But 2023 you did. 2024 will you probably do. But you did the Mercedes era, I think. So you probably will do that.
And not enjoying Formula 1. Or can you then start to appreciate the other things going on as well? And that's definitely what you had to do in this race to enjoy it as much as I think we did.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just looking.
I always done that.
Just thinking back to the race, the best thing about that race was just looking down on the timing tower,
looking down on
and
people,
seeing lots of different colours for the tyres, and that always, when you see that, you know there's stuff going on, because normally, you know, I think we said it in the previous race. Oh, this is painful to watch, that there's a second between everyone or a big gap. They're all on the same tyres. Where are we going to get any action? Whereas, you know, as soon as you see people on different tyres pitting, making things interesting, it does show. I mean, I am adamant. In my opinion, my favourite era of Formula 1 has been that early 2010s. And I know a lot of people find it maybe a little bit farcical with the Pirellis, that they were a little bit maybe too extreme. But for me, that was my favourite era. There was there was a lot of action, and it just shows that it doesn't need to be too ridiculous. We don't need 8 stop races. We just need 2 stop races.
Just 6.
2-stop races and people on different strategies. That's all.
Early 2010 era, otherwise known as the 4-stop strategies, and the tyres literally melting away and having one racing line, and if you go off of that, it's basically wet with dry tyres.
Yeah, this sounds fun.
I agree that the strategy was a really big element of this, and I enjoyed
overtake.
it. Now let's go to our most memorable moment, and we're going to start with me.
Oh, Lewis Hamilton having a bad race. That I would say is the greatest time.
Mine was Leclerc. What a man. Let's talk about him. And the strategy that they deployed for this race, both Charles and of course Ferrari as well, it gave me a lot of hope, a lot of happiness actually, and more belief than ever into the Fred Vasseur Ferrari era. I feel as though he is having a positive change. Whether it was Leclerc's end choice, whether it was Ferrari, putting that to Leclerc, whatever, doesn't matter. They're working in tandem and they're getting the right result. That's all that matters here. It's not a case of, I saw some people saying, well, actually, Ferrari was pushing for Leclerc to have a 2-stop. And it's like, well, yes, they're going to give all the options that are available and whatever. But Charles obviously took it into his own hands, made that 1-stop work, which, did anyone else do a 1-stop? Magnussen did, and that's it. So Charles, on a car that only last year was notoriously known for having horrendous tyre wear.
Like I said.
You fast forward a year later, Ferrari have genuinely taken a step forward in the race drivability, like they promised, which I am very, very happy about. Go on the Ferrari. But also for Charles to have driven in such a, I'd say, well-managed way. Now, it's funny, there's been a lot of talk recently about Damon Hill and his slightly skewed approach perhaps to Charles Leclerc's performances recently, and some of the quotes that he's been saying about how Sainz has been the better driver since yada yada yada. And even though Charles drove an unbelievable race, Damon ended up saying something like, oh yes, he drove to what Ferrari told him to do. I was like, really? Is that it? Is that all you're going to say about Charles? I only watched that just before recording this podcast, hence why it's in my mind. But I thought Charles did a great job. He picked his battles wisely. Turn 1, we'll talk about how that is maybe the best and worst corner in motorsport combined for battling. But overall, I think 4th.
Händer att du tänker på framtiden?
Vad du skulle vilja syssla
med?
Jag tänker på framtiden.
Lite läskigt att tänka så, eller?
Was definitely the maximum that he could have achieved today.
Yeah, what a difference it all makes with Ferrari and their strategy. That it was a brilliant strategy, and it's funny you mentioned the 1-stop. I did not have on my bingo card that we'd get a 1-stop, and the only 2 people to do it would be a Ferrari and a Haas.
So true.
So they've both sorted their problems. But back to Ferrari, it's brilliant from Ferrari that they are just going in the right direction. They've handed over the meme strategy over to Mercedes, which we'll get into later.
McLaren potentially.
And McLaren potentially.
No, no. Don't put McLaren in the same boat as Mercedes. That's mean. Mercedes is below them. The only category Mercedes can be in is if you talk about they're fighting Aston Martin, but not McLaren. That's
potentially as well. And they're just doing a fantastic job. Obviously, Charles didn't have a great quali, and had to do something different in a race where it's difficult to overtake, and he delivered. Of course, had a small mistake where he went off, but in my opinion, you're just pushing the tyres so much. It's not excusing it, but he's pushed the tyres a lot.
No, we discussed that in the Switch Watch.
Incredibly long.
We discussed it.
It was a master plan.
It was on purpose.
It
was on purpose to force Lando to pit, thinking that whatever, and then they both pit at the same time.
Big
just
brain.
saying. Yeah, huge.
But I don't think ultimately that changed his race at all. That incident, regardless of what happened. So for Ferrari to take a comfortable 3-4 when we said that it looks like McLaren actually are much stronger at this track. Leclerc obviously down the order in qualifying. It's a great result. Like Ferrari just having a really, really good season, and it just they've not got the speed of Red Bull, but in terms of like how they're operating, they're doing an amazing amazing job.
And that's exactly what Leclerc said after the race, actually. He said that they're maximising, really, this season so far, the points available to them. Of course, Carlos didn't race in one of those races, but apart from that, Ferrari have been executing on a level that you would expect Mercedes to be doing. But it's changed hands, which is very exciting. P1 Patreon member MZT, can we talk about the positive step with Ferrari this year? No crazy tyre deck, good strategy with both drivers, and not a single we are checking. Now, that last point is very important.
Or they didn't stand out and checking talk with the drivers.
I have heard we are checking this year because I remember my head nearly coming off. But there was no we are checking in this race, at least not that I heard. So that is a good positive sign. The less they're checking and the more they're deciding is a really good thing for Ferrari, and no delays. I think obviously there was a bit of uproar perhaps of the sprinkling of team order to Charles Leclerc of don't hold up, Carlos. Don't lose too much time. Your fights with Norris. Like, excuse me. Fight is with Carlos Sainz, thank you very much. But there was no actual team orders. And you, Tommy, you were thinking that maybe they'd have called this off, which was interesting. That would have caused serious uproar.
Well, I just thought protecting the lead, but I think in the end, Sainz had so much more speed that he could pass Leclerc easily without a battle. I think my mind went to Monza thinking, oh God, not this again. Why would they throw it away? But the difference is that, like you say, Sainz had such better tyres that he was easily be able to pass Leclerc, and Leclerc wasn't going to do anything stupid because he knew he was a kind of sitting duck as well. But back to this question of the whole we are checking thing, I think that is the most impressive thing about Ferrari this season, that even if they'd performed that strategy a couple of years ago, it would have been plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E. Oh, should we do this? No, pit now. Oh, actually, no, I've changed my mind. Oh, no, now do this. It was just, you're doing a one-stop. This is the best strategy. Execute it. Done. Box now. Out. Cars coming up together. Don't hold each other up. They're making the decisions that we've said. They need to be just forceful. They're still doing it in a non-savage way, which is good for the morale of the team and stuff. But they're just being much more kind of, they're just getting it in terms of dilly-dallying about and stuff. So, yeah, well done, Ferrari.
Absolutely, and I think whilst we're kind of on the topic of them not being able to battle into turn one, let's talk about turn one, shall we? Because I don't feel like there's a specific question on it, and whether it is the best and worst corner in motorsport. No, of course not. The last chicane in Barcelona, which of course is now gone, is definitely the worst corner to have ever existed. But it does pose, it's interesting because it's one of the best overtaking opportunities on the track by quite some margin, I would say. And yet there is no way to defend, really, unless they are going in with the driver ahead on the inside, but slightly more ahead. There has to be almost the perfect level. It's not side by side. It's the defending driver has to be slightly ahead and defending the inside, because then obviously they swoop round the outside on the racing line. Then you get side by side. Apart from that, it's a slam dunk almost every single time if the run is made.
True, but what I'd say to that is at least I'd much rather see that where they have to swoop around the outside in the corner than a DRS pass on the straight. So from that side, I guess, we would much prefer that, but I do get what you mean in the fact that because it's not a heavy braking zone, the person that is being overtaken is never going to be able to stay ahead because they can't essentially outbrake someone. You can't outbrake them into the corner and things like that. So,
but you can't.
But yeah, so a lot of
your
moves into that corner, quite amusing.
Okay.
I don't think there's a question about it, but I said on the Twitch watch along, I was like, miss the days where people would make a lunge into the final chicane like the old days, and then George Russell was like, well, okay.
Oh, Tommy,
and then showed us exactly why they don't do it anymore, because the cars are too big and it doesn't work.
Yes, exactly. Now, Tommy, why don't you go to your most memorable moment, because I believe this person did do one of those moves into turn one as well.
Yeah, so my most memorable moment is time to fanboy about Yuki Tsunoda. You've had your Leclerc fanboy, now it's my turn. And I wasn't initially going to actually make this my review, but the thing is, he has had such a good few races. I was worried I was hyping him up too much, and then I've looked into it, and I actually think he's gone underappreciated of what a good job he's doing. The last 10 races I've looked into, and Yuki Tsunoda has been best of the midfield in 6 of them. We always talk about how it's so hard to score a point. He got P8 in Austin, P6 in Brazil Sprint, P9 in Brazil, P9 in Abu Dhabi, P7 in Australia, P10 in Suzuka. The guy is on such a good run of form, and I think he's still maybe being underappreciated, because I personally think that if you swapped the season Daniel Ricciardo is having with Yuki Tsunoda and swapped them round, it would be Daniel Ricciardo, he's putting pressure for the Red Bull seat. He's driving brilliantly. He's finishing best of the rest every time. He's delivering in that car. Look what Tsunoda's doing. He's not doing enough. And there just seems to be no talk at all that he would get that seat.
Because why would he? He's a Honda driver, not a Red Bull driver. That's a big difference.
And I think it's time to sort of start respecting Tsunoda more. He's not just
Aston Martin can do that, because when they get Honda, they will probably do that.
Honda driver that his whole career is all about Honda and where that goes. I think he's literally just good enough to be where he is, and I think he's been one of the most impressive drivers of the year.
Well, I will
Thank you
tie
for
in
my
the
TED talk.
Yeah, there you go. The Tommy talk is done. I will tie in this question. P1 Patreon member RR Rebel. Should Helmut Marko change his attitude to Yuki? He should be a top contender for a Red Bull seat next year. What a progress so far this season. Your point is absolutely spot on, Tommy. I think that there are obviously lots of other reasons as to why Daniel Ricciardo is spoken about a lot, and his trajectory previously, and the fact he's a race winner. Yuki Tsunoda's in a different part of his career. He's still building. He's still proving himself. And I think that all he can do is produce a fully consistent season. And the fact that he's done 10 races that are pretty impressive.
The start was questionable.
To say that, or 6 of them were
the
best of the midfield.
Drive attack
where the midfield,
on Ricciardo,
I guess, is. But apart from that, Tsunoda, all he has to do is not have these dips of horrendous performances or dive bombing his teammate in Bahrain after the race, things like that. Like, if he can just show that he can be a team leader for a whole season, a few seasons, then maybe the attitude would change a little bit. But as I say, I think there's plenty of sort of love story attached to Daniel Ricciardo as to why he gets so much media attention for it. But Tsunoda does absolutely deserve the plaudits.
Gather round for s'more Ben & Jerry's Sundays. Inspired by the campfire with gooey marshmallows, chocolate ice cream, and all the chunks and swirls, there's s'more to love in every spoonful. And a vegan flavor, too. New from Ben & Jerry's.
Been on my mind quite for some time. All these feelings keep making me smile.
Trygg Hansa. Trygghet för livet.
That he sometimes gets and sometimes doesn't. And I think that today was a great performance, because he was screwed over by the team a little bit. Then the team gave it back to him with a great pit stop. The 5-way fight in the pit stop for what was P11 at the time, which turned out to be a point, was massive. And then Tsunoda delivered after that. And I really need to blow my nose because I can't say ends very well. But well done, Yuki. A great performance.
Yeah, he made some fantastic moves. I think, unfortunately,
he wasn't
the way
lying.
Red Bull is and always has been, is it's all about the right place at the right time. Because
oh my god, he's going to.
In my opinion, Yuki Tsunoda has.
I mean, he must be fucking pranking. This is the fuck do you have in your nose?
Now achieved and now done more.
Do you have a meatball,
in my opinion, than
in
Alex
your nose?
Albon and Pierre Gasly did.
Like the song say, you shouldn't put a meatball in your nose.
Get the Red Bull seat in the first place. I think he's been as good as those guys, if not better, in the case of Albon, and he deserves a shot. The problem is now is Perez is actually delivering and doing a fantastic job. So that, unfortunately for Yuki, he kind of is hoping that he needs to keep up this form when either Perez has a dip or decides to dip and leave Formula One. If he decides to, if he wants to retire, I don't think he would when he's got a Red Bull and he's winning. I think he'd have to be forced out. But Perez can't go forever. And yeah, it's unfortunate for Yuki that it's just.
He surely can't go forever.
He's peaked at a time where, where does he go? And Perez is delivering enough, but Red Bull do need to think about the fact that Max isn't. I don't think Max will leave now, and it seems like he is gonna stay.
Wait, what? He will not leave. Why not? I mean, a Mercedes drive will be so perfect for him. He can make the team great again.
His contract, it seems.
What's that?
What's next when Perez does get to the age where he needs to retire? And then when Max, maybe there's all talk of him retiring early, they need a young driver to develop, and maybe they need the next one in Max, and they don't need him to beat Max, but they need to have that driver in place like they've done.
Yuki Tsunoda isn't the one. He's not, in my opinion, good enough. He's good, but he's just like on Carlos Sainz. He's good, not great.
With George Russell and Hamilton or whatever like that. So yeah, they need to think about it, and it's a shame for Tsunoda because I think he's proven that he deserves to have better machinery underneath him.
Yeah, like an Aston Martin.
He almost needs RB to be a slightly better car so he can show what he can do amongst the likes of Alonso, Russell, Piastri and Hamilton in that race, for example. But he's so far behind that you don't get as much limelight, and also I guess you can't prove yourself as much. We've seen with drivers in the past, mainly the ones that have been promoted to Red Bull and then done terribly, that it's all well and good being able to deliver in a car that you're not expected to score points in, to then turning up in a Red Bull, a Ferrari or whatever, and then delivering.
Yeah, and that will show from the good drivers, from the great drivers.
Week in, week out, podiums. So I'll go back to my point. I think it is all about Yuki just showing consistency, showing a level-headedness and a team leader kind of aspect to him, and then...
In my opinion, that will just make him keep the seat, not get him promoted.
I think he will get more headlines, in my opinion. So fingers crossed for Yuki.
From other teams, maybe, but not from Red Bull.
Can keep that up. Now let's talk about his teammate and the start crash. Of course, that was between Alex Albon and Daniel Ricciardo into turn number 2, and actually just before recording this podcast there was confirmation that there is no penalty and it was deemed a racing incident between the two of them, but there was an interesting note of, had it not been the first lap, it wouldn't have been the same outcome, which I think suggests that Daniel Ricciardo was slightly more at fault, but not enough at fault to penalise him on lap 1. I think seeing it first and foremost, I was like, oh god, that's not good from Danny Rick. But then you take into the whole lap 1 the fact that it was lap 1. There's cars everywhere. The stewards have also taken note of, I think, Lance Stroll being in the situation, despite him not being up the inside. Just him being there, perhaps taking the attention away from anything that might have been on the right of Daniel Ricciardo, which was Alex Albon on soft tyres. So I think for Alex, it was risky. It was, I need to make up places on soft tyres. God, I need a point in Williams, but also I need to keep this chassis in one piece. No, I don't think that part was actually going in his head at all. I think it was just the first two. So he did put his car in a risky position, I will say. Daniel Ricciardo, I will apportion more blame to, because he literally swiped into Alex and then caused that crash. But I do understand that no penalty being handed out is probably the fairest decision.
yeah, we're normally meant to slander the stewards and say, oh, they're so inconsistent, they're wrong. But in this sense, I actually completely agree with everything they've said in terms of the fact that I think in a lap 3 or 4 or whatever, when Stroll's not there and there's not loads of cars around you, the move that Ricciardo does is a penalty all day long, and it's his fault. And while it is his fault, I don't think it's enough to penalise him and give him a grid drop for the next Grand Prix or do something like that, because it is one of those turn one there's a lot of cars around him, and he's ruined his own race at the end of the day. Albon is taking a bit of a risk to go down the inside there.
Outside.
It's not, sorry, outside. Yeah, inside then outside. It's the nature of Suzuka as well. Like, how many incidents have we seen at Suzuka in these new cars? I'm pretty sure last year as well there was a bit of chaos at turn 1 on the first lap, because the cars are just so damn wide and the track is so thin that they're trying to go 3 wide, and they know they can make up places like, say, like soft tyre runners and things like that.
The thing is, Alex wasn't even trying to go for the move. Like, he wasn't. I think he was just
trying
to get past Lance on the left and got a great run. Just wanted to hang it on the right-hand side, let Ricciardo go through, and then maybe battle the Aston Martin into the next corner. But because of the launch he got with the soft tyres, compared to Danny Rick, who was struggling, that man lost about 5 places going into turns 1 and 2. So he was struggling. I can then see how it would have caught him out even more because of Alex's purchase off that first corner. But yeah, I don't think Alex was not going for that move by any stretch of the imagination, but he just ran out of room. And as you say, we need smaller cars.
Yeah, but while we've sort of mentioned that Ricciardo didn't deserve a penalty, it is another just another black mark on his name when he needed to deliver some kind of result.
Yeah, true.
And you know, the TV direction knew exactly what they were doing when they were panning over to Liam Lawson stood behind him and stuff. I'm starting to think that Netflix are directing the coverage now. Yeah. But yeah, it's a lot of pressure on him. Do I believe he'll finish the season if he carries on? No.
Oh, well, I was about to haven't actually posed that question yet. Lucas Rostad.
Oh, sorry, I thought you read it out.
Spoiler alert, Lucas Rostad asks, do you believe Ricciardo will finish the season?
Yes.
I do. I don't think that they're due to, not purely down to his performance, but everything else surrounding him. I don't think Red Bull would do that to Daniel Ricciardo.
Well, would they?
There is more to this, I think, than just pure utter performance, as we've said before, and what they maybe wanted Daniel Ricciardo to be able to do, and what currently is happening is not obviously in the storybook. And I also think that Daniel will have good performances between now and the summer break, for example, when this won't be again another knee-jerk thing. It isn't great, it isn't a good look, Daniel Ricciardo starts this season, but I also believe that he will have great results that will silence this immediately. So yes, I do think he will finish the season.
I am less and less confident. I think the thing for me is that, I think I said it in the last podcast, that there's clearly a different power, a different level of power in the Red Bull camp now, that Helmut Marko doesn't have the power that he used to, it seems, and Christian Horner has a lot more power. And,
what power? He will be leaving.
The fact that I think in previous seasons gone by, Helmut was dictating more drivers and what would happen, and it's clear that Horner loves Daniel Ricciardo and he's kind of a bit of his like second golden boy there, and might have something to say about it. But if he carries on having these performances, it's going to get a lot more difficult to justify why, because he was already under pressure at the start of the season. He's had a stinker to the start of the season as well. And yeah, we're just going to get this question maybe every race if it keeps happening, and we're going to
it'll be Ricciardo, then it'll be Sargent, then it'll be someone else.
Yeah, Stroll next.
So do you or not? Happening. Because it sounded like you talked yourself out of that almost immediately. So you said, "Oh, I'm not sure." But Christian Horner has a lot of power, and Ricciardo's his golden boy.
I think it's making it more of a
but
I still think that he will go halfway through the season if he carries on these performances, but I'm not like 100% certain like I would have been in previous years.
Wow.
I don't think
Let's
Red
not
Bull
forget
is
as well.
savage as he used to be.
Let's put a small tiny green mark against Daniel Ricciardo's name that he had a good qualifier at least with Yuki Tsunoda, if that is positive. Right.
It was.
Let's move away from RB and go to Mercedes.
Yes.
Jan_PN.
Mercedes time.
Mercedes. What's their issue?
Mercedes don't know.
Det är kul. Det kokar. För varje match som går så kokar det ner till det avgörande momentet.
Wow.
Where do we start? Yeah, it's a good question. Toto Wolff clearly very not happy after the race. Ted interviewing him and saying it's not acceptable to have a car that might work in some conditions and not work in others. I think they were sort of backing that hard tyre decision, as George was especially saying that it opened up a flexibility of whether they wanted to one stop or whatever that might be. Hamilton, on the other hand, sounded like he never wants to see a hard tyre again, and he was not happy in the slightest with that. So they made a decision very early to have 2 sets of new hard tyres as opposed to two sets of new mediums. And I think it was just that gamble, really. I'm not going to slander Mercedes too much for going one way or the other, because I think Horner was interviewed afterwards and he mentioned that Perez might have suggested that he would have liked 2 new hard tyres rather than 2 new mediums. So there is this sort of chopping and changing where it wasn't obvious what was going to happen, especially with the hotter track conditions today as well. Aside from that, the strategy, I felt as though they did do that on the fly and perhaps decided onto a 2-stop a bit late, considering they had longed it out. I guess they were learning on the, if you know, hindsight, whatever, they were learning whether the hard tyres were going to work or not, and they did seem okay at times. But then it did feel like quite a late call, I would say, for both Mercedes to come in and pop on a used set of mediums for the last stint of the race.
I'm not. That needs
Mercedes fans cover your ears now because.
Oh no! Get your popcorn out. Tommy's coming.
Mercedes are, like, I say they're a shadow of their former selves, but
they are.
The problem,
and when Lewis Hamilton leaves, it will be even bigger shadow.
The problem I always found with Mercedes was they had an unbelievable advantage, and rightly so, because they built a fantastic car, built an amazing engine, and in the hybrid era they completely dominated. They were winning championship after championship, but we had this perception that Mercedes were like this bulletproof team and they get everything right. But a lot of the time, even when they had that very dominant car, they would make some errors. It felt like there were quite a few times where the only time they ever had to race another car, like a Sebastian Vettel in a Ferrari or Max Verstappen in a Red Bull, they'd get it wrong. And now they don't have a very quick car. It's exposing them very badly in how, like, they're just kind of going backwards and backwards. And I think the way they started in 2022, fine, you've messed up the car direction and now it's all about how you lift yourself up and get back to the top. And they're going the opposite way. Like, they're going backwards. They're finishing behind their customer teams. Their strategies, I said it in this race, like, shock Mercedes are just throwing some random tyres on and going, I hope this works. It feels like they don't really know what they're doing, and they're just sort of hoping anything sticks, and they're just guessing at the moment. It's crazy to me, and it just feels like they are just getting worse and worse, and it must be, it's like, I'm sure, while I joked about Mercedes fans putting their things in their ears, I'm sure like a lot of Mercedes fans are like frustrated, and it's like embarrassing to watch them flounder so much. Like, even though Mercedes fans are just
Mercedes team fans in particular, losing Lewis Hamilton and now seeing this as well. It's just
great
such
future
a
for
dire
Mercedes
situation for Mercedes to be in at the moment. And the strategy is one thing, the pace is another. As you say, like, it's funny. We were joking yesterday evening about doing some sort of funny podcast for Patreon where we basically pre-record what we think will happen in the race in a small race review. I can tell you right now, that segment of you saying that Mercedes don't know what they're doing, we can literally put in almost every single race, and it will probably
actually true. or every person that are copying that Mercedes will be good. I mean, man, the believers in Mercedes. How long will they believe?
Land.
I mean, what I've seen, they are long believers that think World of Warcraft will be good again. It might be Hearthstone. So let's see, when did that come out? World of Warcraft. I think 2004. World of Warcraft, yeah, November 23, 2004. So, and it's 2024, so 20 years. And they're starting being bad. 2022, and it, yeah, 2020. Oh my god, 22. So in 42, then the Mercedes fans maybe would question if they actually will be a good team.
Because I feel like you've said this most.
I'm not saying
so
F1's predictable, but well done, Max Verstappen winning by a mile. Oh, Yuki Tsunoda best of the rest. Oh, Mercedes, they've had a good Friday, but they're terrible in the race. Oh,
and will Logan keep his seat?
Yeah, will Logan keep his seat? We'll get onto that later.
He will not.
Stroll. Oh, what's he doing? Yeah, Mercedes just it's shocking. It really is that. I mean, Lewis Hamilton, after 4 races, is only a few points ahead of Yuki Tsunoda in the championship. Like what?
Yeah, that is
and
wild.
More stuff.
I'm sure they will figure it out. They finished second in the Constructors' Championship last year, and they had their highs and lows then as well. Not probably sure as low as this,
chances, yeah,
but
I don't think.
they might figure it out and start doing at least second fastest in some racetracks, but we will see.
Other than 2022, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, they will. Yeah.
When Logan
surely they will
laps them in 2027, and we're like, oh. They'll figure it out.
Bold to think Logan will be on the grid. Next question, Oxider Brock. I tried, but there's no defending Logan now, is there? Had his shot and blew it, didn't he? Yes. Next question.
He had his shot. Many times.
Yes.
And yes.
All he had to do was have a really quiet weekend this weekend.
Yes.
Just
and he started
back,
practice.
Finish 18th. Say, look, I'm just building myself back up after being dropped in Australia.
There were moments where he was doing all right, and then
he was running in 11th. We believed.
Stop crashing.
Technically not a crash, just an excursion, I would say. Just wanted to see what life was like in the gravel for a bit. To be fair, I will give him his fair dues. Beautiful reversing out of the gravel. The driver's in the cool down.
Yeah, no safety car. So the race didn't end boring.
Expected there to be a safety car because he was in the gravel, but that clutch control must have been something special from Logan Sargent, and perhaps that's what James Fowles will say in the post-race debrief. Is look, there are some negatives here, but let's look at the positives here.
Yeah,
Logan's
he's
really
not great on the accelerator and brake, but his clutch control is.
Yeah, and that can maybe keep the seat.
Spot on. I'll bear that in mind for driver ratings.
Joking aside, Logan was having good points in the race where I thought, no way is my biggest flop not going to come in after him destroying the car on Friday and him not doing any running. And then had that issue and obviously finished last of the runners. We'll get on to whether I scored a point or not.
Oh yeah, behind Alpine. That must be really washed.
Next time later. But he has blown it. I think that is signed, sealed, delivered. Thank you very much. Cheers. Take care. I don't think there's any way of him salvaging this, just purely from a case of he hasn't beaten Albon in qualifying once. He never shows any sort of he's never shown him being quicker than Albon ever. And that's the problem. That's why it doesn't give me any faith of him being able to build himself up again, because at the end of last year, that was the whole point. All right, it was a learning year. We come into this year now. But as we say with other drivers, F1 is not a charity. And this, I will very, very confidently say, is going to be Logan's last year in Formula 1.
Logan, yeah, as you said in last year. And, yeah, he can't... Yeah, we just have the same conversation every week, like you say, but surely this is now it. I don't understand how they're defending him. There must be more to it.
At least for this year. Then they can
cash, money, cash. Speaking of cash, let's go to the next question. Caitlin sucks. Why did Aston Martin leave Stroll out for such a long soft stint at the end of the race? Should they have considered mediums instead? Well, what Aston Martin have done here is they've looked at the other side of the garage, where Fernando Alonso, the absolute GOAT, starts on the soft tyres, fresh soft tyres, full fuel, and ends up going what I believe is 14 laps. I'm going to check live on the podcast to see if...
And Monellas, did Stroll succeed on this?
Nope, they are clearly asleep. That's great. But I believe it was 14 laps. At least it was a good long stint with heavy fuel. Let's not forget that. The car is at its heaviest and did a very good stint on the softs. Much further on into the race, Lance Stroll gets popped on some softs, which should give him a huge advantage. And this is, he's trying to catch Yuki Tsunoda. He's not trying to catch Piastri or anyone else. This is Formula B he is racing in at the moment. He said about his engine being a different category. He was literally racing in a different category. There was like a 50-second gap between Formula...
And I hope this doing bad performance the whole season will make him more want to leave Formula 1. So Yuki Tsunoda can just have a fun days or seasons with Fernando Alonso and maybe getting podiums for the team.
And then Yuki Tsunoda. How is Lance even still in that fight? I know that people will jump to his defence and say about this soft tyre that clearly degraded and Aston Martin are terrible on their tyres. But Fernando Alonso showed it's possible. And I will not have the explanation of, well, it's Fernando Alonso as the reason as to why Lance Stroll shouldn't have...
I mean, it is. Or you can say it's not Fernando Alonso. It's Lance Stroll that tried to do something that great drivers can succeed with.
Had soft tyres at the end. Fernando Alonso is the oldest man on the grid. He is not in his prime. He's driving very, very well.
But have Lance Stroll ever been in his prime?
Physically, he cannot be in his prime. And yet Lance Stroll has been absolutely wiped the floor with this weekend. And if there were two Lance Strolls in that car this weekend, we would think Aston Martin are one of the worst teams on the grid. Well, not worst, sorry, Alpine. But one of, the slowest teams.
We'd be saying they were in Formula B. And instead, we have this thing every week where we go, oh, it's impossible to get any points because there's the top 5 teams. But thankfully for Formula B is Lance Stroll exists because it normally gives them a point to go. Because, it's just so... Yeah, it's just annoying to witness because it's a waste of a seat.
Yeah, hopefully his father will soon learn that his son Fernando Alonso is better to have in Formula 1 than his fake son Lance Stroll.
They're a good team now. The guy has... Yeah, it's just embarrassing to watch him battling. Why is he in a pit stop race with a Haas and a Williams while Fernando Alonso is fighting the Mercedes and McLarens? And I obviously, what I think about Fernando Alonso, but I do agree with you in the sense that he's at the twilight of his career. Beyond the twilight of his career, the man's doing incredible things to still be racing as well as he is. But Esteban Ocon, when they were Alpine teammates, would occasionally outqualify Fernando Alonso. You can say what you like about Alonso had the worst luck and whatever, but Ocon was there or thereabouts and sometimes would beat him. So Alonso is not this untouchable driver that must be miles ahead of his teammate. Lance Stroll is not a rookie.
Filip, Jag har tänkt på en grej.
But
Det här med att vi
I mean, between good and great drivers, could you say that he's not even good?
Dagens rätt
No,
för
so
bara 69 kronor.
He's
been in Formula One for absolutely ages now.
Yeah.
And, you know, how many seasons is this? Like 7, 8? I can't remember. But he's a veteran now of like...
Veteran to be in Formula 1, not a veteran to drive a Formula 1 car. Come on, stop cooping. He was never good. The car was good. And thanks to that, he succeeded to do anything.
Of F1 compared to a lot of drivers. He'll have done a lot more races than most drivers. And he is not improving. And any other driver...
Why should he?
...loses their seat because of it. And we all know why. And he won't. And it's just...
Hopefully
it's just
he actually will.
to witness.
Or he
It's
will
like,
not lose. He will...
It is irritating.
Just say no to it.
Yeah. It is irritating.
Because we want to see the best drivers in Formula 1. We want to see driver changes. You know, we were joking at the start of the season. I know we're going to have this amazing, silly season now. But we were sort of saying how annoying it is that we've gone into a new season for the first time ever and there's not a single driver change. But any other driver would have lost their seat based on what Lance did last season. And he's gone into a new season and so far is doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah, and hopefully 2025 it will be so bad that he... But now Yuki Tsunoda, you can actually take my drive. Honda will come in, have a good year. I will do something that I actually can be good at.
Going out.
Bro's just chilling.
Yeah.
Bro is just chilling, turning up week in, week out, expecting to be great. But it is strange because he obviously showed huge willingness to get better after his injury, and we all were commending him.
Exactly.
But that was the best time he bloomin' was when he clearly put in a lot of effort to get back and was almost like sort of mentally there. But then since
one race and done.
Don't see those.
Saudi Arabia happened.
Maybe
and done.
Years ago, where
maybe Lawrence needs to go one more race and you're out, and then let's see what he can do. And even if he doesn't fire him, like give him some.
You're
pressure.
out in one race. All right, I'll give you one more. I'll give you what. Maybe that's what they have the whole time, Tommy. Is that conversation, and he just keeps saying one more, and it's been about 50 races now. Who knows?
Good one, Dad.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah.
Also,
See
give me a
next
new
week.
engine.
I know, yeah, GP2 reference there, but yeah, very, very disappointing and as you say, irritating because we do want to see. It's not, we know that in Formula One there are obviously plenty of reasons as to why some drivers have seats.
Drugovic could take the seat,
but there are also
this is the most extreme
very
example
exciting young
ever
talent
of that, I think.
Yeah.
In terms of like politics deciding, you know, we talk about Daniel Ricciardo is probably going to keep his seat because he's like this funny guy. Like, this is the most extreme example of like how something can keep you in a seat because we've never seen this in Formula One before where this has happened. Like you've seen paid drivers come into the sport. I know he's not a paid driver because he's, you know, his dad owns a team, but
and he did have
even
a decent
paid drivers.
Well, his father paid and bought the team, so then one way to get a paid driver into a seat.
Oh yeah, and he's done it. He's got a few podiums.
Maybe the easiest way, because then you decide when the paid driver will leave, and you can always say no.
Improving. Goodbye.
But he did get pole at Turkey.
That is his best performance in a Formula 1 car, in my opinion. Turkey.
Yeah.
I've only seen it,
okay.
and I don't
care.
care.
100 odd races, whatever it was.
I know. Yeah. I remember when Stroll used to get random podiums when it was crazy races. Now,
yeah, I wonder why. Can't beat the car.
Anyway,
must be in his great performance.
Wins, but anyway.
Oh my goodness gracious me! Let's go to biggest winner, shall we? Driver or team?
Max Verstappen.
Who has claimed that? Then I know you're going to say Yuki Tsunoda, which is fair. It's a fair shout.
Yeah, probably. It's weird because a lot of drivers are kind of where they're meant to be, even though they've had this really exciting, I say really exciting, but a good race with lots of entertainment. There's not really like one guy that's, oh my god, they're way ahead of where they normally are.
I mean, maybe you can say Alpine was way below what they maybe should have.
I think Tsunoda personally. I think that's probably the most standout performance. I would say Perez as well, showing some good form and exactly where he needs to be to keep that seat. Alonso, he finishes 6th in a car that he absolutely destroyed his teammate in, so he deserves at least some plaudits.
You never know with Alonso.
But he also destroyed Lance Stroll. Come on now. I mean, Alonso is good, but at least mention that he destroyed Lewis Hamilton and George Russell in Mercedes.
How true it is.
That's something.
I'm sure he says it any time it's become a meme, but he was like, that was one of my top 5 drives of all time, which I'm sure he has said after every race.
It was very well done though, wasn't it, on Piastri and how he was giving him DRS to stop Russell coming through.
Yeah, he's still
Carlos Sainz walked so Fernando could run. Absolutely love that. So
I bet Russell was sweating a bit when he was behind Alonso on the last lap, going, "Oh God, here we go again."
Here we go again. Where's the brake check? Alleged. Right, so that's Yuki Tsunoda for both of us, is it? Is that we're locking that in?
It's got to be Yuki.
Okay. Biggest loser.
Mercedes.
Williams.
Logan Sargent. Yeah, Williams.
I think Williams in general.
I mean, half, I would say, Williams. But I would say more Mercedes, because the copium people give them, that they surely will be good now. I mean, like, if people will be just quiet and don't even mention that Mercedes can ever be good, then I will agree. But now people think it.
I think they are.
Williams as a whole.
So Mercedes.
Yeah, it's kind of got a bit embarrassing how many crashes they've had. Even
it's embarrassing. It takes so long time to even make something that they actually would say, man, this year we actually have something that we can call our car. And that's a great start in the Formula 1
We
team.
beat up on Sargent, but that's too well, it's not really Albon's fault.
You can actually drive this now.
It's a shocker for
It
Williams
feels
as
like
a
a
team
car now.
to have another binned car and not get any points still on the board when Haas have managed to get some.
There was an amazing meme in Funniest Tweets where someone
That's a lie.
Video of the mod that you can have on F1 games where it gets rid of the entire car and just has the driver sitting and hovering.
Yeah, that was not that funny. But this was in his funniest tweet, so of course it will be there.
And it was like Williams in China.
Yeah, at this rate, probably happen. Another shout for biggest loser is probably Alpine making upgrades and looking even more like a Formula 2 car.
Ooh, that you can also say. I mean, if they didn't have the upgrades, then you couldn't complain. But with the upgrades, that's so hard.
It was honestly.
It was bad. If it wasn't for Sargent, they'd have been last on the road again. So
I hope they found that there was some sort of invisible parachute attached to both of their rear wings, because Gasly in particular was
so slow,
awful, absolutely awful. Alpine. So that's going to be a painful debrief for them. But Netflix, they're going to be getting some content. I'll tell you that, because remember how angry they were when they were finishing 5th. Right, let's now go to the predictions that we made on Wednesday. And I'm glad you changed it. We had a lot of deliberation.
No funny prediction for me. No rain, no Lando Norris win. Max Verstappen P2 and Leclerc P3. And no double points for the Visa Cash App RB Formula 1 team. And no points for Alex Albon. That's sad.
About what the score was, and then I saw we agreed it was 7-7, and I just looked at the sheet and it said 8-8. I was like, wait, what's gone on here? But Tommy has changed it back to 7-7 now. I thought I was really on for something big here. Biggest good surprise. I went for Lando Norris, which it was looking good. Let's talk about McLaren actually, and how they absolutely bottled the strategy with him. How they have lost to Charles Leclerc when they had two completely different strategies is mind-boggling to me. Absolutely mind-boggling.
insane. And Lando got a great start, was ahead of Carlos. Like, how did it go so wrong?
He was running in P2 at one point. We're thinking, oh, could he battle pair?
I mean, is it really worse than Mercedes?
For a bit.
What they did?
See how the hard tyres go. And it was a disaster, really. I mean, not a horrific disaster, but in the grand scheme of things, he should have been up there, in my opinion, fighting Sainz. So what we're saying is, as a driver, probably half a point. You know, stuck at third on the grid.
No surprise for fifth. That's a very standard McLaren.
Okay, and yours, Tommy?
Yeah, annoyingly mine as well. I could argue half a point and say that it was a surprise based on qualifying and where he ended up, but he's behind his teammate, which is not what I was going with for that. So
yeah, thanks, mate.
Concede.
Don't you ever put him in that category ever again, Charles Leclerc, okay? Perfect. 0 points for that. Biggest flop.
Hamilton.
So I'm going to say it right now. 4 from 4. I went for Logan Sargent. We didn't think it'd get any worse than Australia, and it did.
Can I just quote you on something?
Oh no.
You said, Logan Sargent will be biggest flop, and you said he'll either crash and ruin the chassis again, or just be last. And technically it was both, so 0 points.
Wait, excuse me.
Yeah, true. It was both, not one of them.
2 points.
No, I'm joking.
That is
yeah, it's definitely a point.
Yeah. Oh god. I mean, we laugh, but yeah, poor Logan. I can imagine how he must be feeling. But I will be taking.
Also, my opinion, he shouldn't have been in the car in first place. Like this. Oh, if you finish 4, we'll bring you up. Like, why? You have Drugovic. Just pick him. But no Drugovic got the seat, and that's Fitzpatrick.
Point, thank you very much. Because it didn't look like I was going to get a point for a while until he ended up in the gravel, and fair enough. He wasn't going to score a point anyway, so he gave me a point in the predictions instead.
Biggest flop, I went for Max Verstappen, and
yeah. Well, you know that, yeah, literally. You get most of your points. You're a points merchant for pole position and top 3s. I feel like good surprise and flops don't really ever come in for you. And it's
no, they
the
don't.
Opposite.
They never do.
Okay, so 0 points for you for that. Pole position. Both went for Max Verstappen, didn't we? And that was signed, sealed, delivered. Thank you very much. And then the top 3. So in third, I went for Charles Leclerc. Which, yeah, that's fine.
I went for Carlos Sainz. Ching.
No way. Lando Norris, I went for P2. I thought I was so onto something there as well for a little while. But nope.
Perez, P2. Ka-ching. I have frauded my to some points.
You're such a fraud for the top 3s. And then first place, I went for Max Verstappen. Yes! Come on, Max. Love the domination. Thank you very much. So a point for me for that.
I went for Leclerc, so no.
Yeah, that's wild. If you had literally just gone for a non-delusional first place, you would have got all 3. But instead, that's fine. Right, one crazy prediction. So I'm just reading your predictions. I hate you so much! Not all 20 cars start the Japanese Grand Prix. So
I knew it.
You're only as starty as the last start that happened. And the last start was where 2 cars crashed and no, the first start, 2 cars crashed.
No,
so
it's
the
not.
second start, we had 18 cars begin.
I might have just for the banter and how hilarious it would have been if they hadn't reached the safety car line and they'd done a full restart and they couldn't have gone on the grid. I might have just given you even a point just because of how hilarious it would have been that it would have come true. But,
but talk to me.
It didn't. You started on lap 2.
Yeah, but it was always going to start on lap 2. We know that from Australia last year when we spoke about how there was a lap deleted. So technically, the Japanese Grand Prix started from lap 2.
Keep
come
trying.
On, everybody, everybody's listening. Help me out here, please. Come on, Talk to me.
No.
Give me
It's
half
still
a point.
close. It's still close. Don't worry.
It's okay.
And I went for Yuki Tsunoda, best of the rest. Glorious.
So what I will actually say to this one, to combat this, is the fact that Lance Stroll is showing that Aston Martin is part of Formula B, and therefore Fernando Alonso is actually best of the rest. Thank you very much. 0 points.
True.
Don't use my boy Fernando as a weapon against me.
I think it's my boyfriend. Don't use my boyfriend against me.
It's still
Well
close.
done, Tommy. So, thanks, mate.
10-11
what is it
now.
10-11. We are still massying this all day
we're doing good,
long.
I think.
Okay, and then what about you three? You three, strange way of saying the three crazy predictions. Maryam Sultan, McLaren double podium. No. Verka Boch, race will not be finished due to rain. God, we only got a little bit in practice, and that was about it. And into the fast lane, Alpine points.
Nope.
No.
Oh,
so
that was
0 points for the wonderful
minus
listeners.
points, I think.
Yeah, pointless, then you would have got a point. But unfortunately, that did not happen. Right, Tommy, what are your final thoughts, sir?
Final thoughts.
Mission is still bad.
I am pleased. Well, two final thoughts, actually.
I am
One,
pleased.
I am pleased. I'm pleased that I've seen some good strategy overtaking and stuff, because it feels like a long time coming when I've sat down and been like satisfied about Formula 1 race, because it's been frustrating for a while. And
Sorry, hold on. Let me just put, before you go to your second point, this is a Max Verstappen fan that has said he's only just sat down feeling satisfied after.
Well, because I don't want to
Grand
see him win by 20 seconds.
I know, I'm only teasing, but also screw you. You're a Max Verstappen
It
fan.
shows what a place
How
it's
far
in.
it's fallen.
And secondly, P1 Live Show. Bring it on.
Ooh, hello, Tom Bellingham with the plug. Love that. And that will be my final thought. P1 Live Show next week. So if you'd like to come along, please do.
nobody cares.
Links everywhere in our link tree and all that sort of stuff. Just type in P1 Live Show in Google and you'll be able to get a ticket as well that way. So thank you, everybody. We are going to be doing our F1 to 10 driver ratings as always. And we will be asking for your submission as well in terms of where you would rate each driver. So look out on social media and also social media, isn't it? Yeah, we'll post that. So get involved and we'll take the highest rating for each and have that as the fan rating. And that is it. See you very soon. Lots of love.
With the high ratings.
Bye.
Yeah, that was that. Let's go away from that. And quiet. Let's see. Was it something more fun that I was planning? No, the Williams could maybe be another day. Let's finish it off with Kym Illman.
Här sitter jag och är...
And go away, ad. No need to watch an ad. Oh no, need more stone. Oh shit, one more ad. And then it's time for Kym Illman. Bum, bum, bum. There we have him, the good day mate.
G'day from Nagoya, Japan. Daniel Ricciardo last just
Yeah,
2
good day,
corners
mate.
off on turn 3 in yesterday.
Man, can't be good day from Ricardo. Man.
Japanese Grand Prix.
Should be
Daniel
really
done?
annoying.
Well, let's have a look at it.
Oh yeah, is Daniel Ricciardo done in F1 after Suzuka crash? I would say no. But the media would maybe say that.
I was shooting at turn 1. The cars are coming towards me. They all get past me. It was all fine. And then I immediately go and have a look at the back of my camera to pick a picture to post. And then I look up and I see a red flag just in front of me. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? I've got no TV screen to look at. And then I happen to see some dust settling over at turn 3. So I immediately go to the F1 app, Alex Albon, Daniel Ricciardo off at turn 3. And I didn't realise at the time, but there were huge sighs from the crowd because initially they thought, oh no, that's Yuki. It wasn't, so they were pretty happy that their man Yuki Tsunoda was still in.
As soon as they know it was the Ricciardo, they applauded.
In the race. But I've had a look at the incident, and I'm sure you have too. I'm going to suggest it's a 50-50, and certainly a lot of the comments I've seen on social media would suggest that the vast majority of the public believe it's a 50-50. It's a racing incident. I think the team will say, well, this is a racing incident, so I think he's going to get somewhat of a reprieve from VCARB, in so much as they're not going to say, right, well, that's another black
Cash App RB Formula 1 team. Come on, can't be that hard to say.
Mark against your name. That might be grey mark. But certainly after the incident, it was quite amazing because I counted, I reckon, 8 different service vehicles coming out onto the track, going in the flow of the way we race, heading around to that turn 3 to repair it, and it was out of action for a good half an hour, wasn't it, before we restarted. And have a look at the damage to both cars. It was sizable.
Yeah, the new wing gone. But it feels like, well, it looked like with a cash-up car more damage, but man, the tires doesn't look nice for the Williams. Yeah, sad day for Williams.
Well, later in the afternoon, I went back to the media centre, and both Daniel and Alex Albon were facing the media, and I have seen a little bit of Daniel's stuff, and it's hard to watch. He's got some bad luck, and I know some of you are going to say, no, he should be gone, he's past it. I don't want to say that. I think he's great for the sport. Yes, he does need a bump up in his performance, and perhaps he needs some good luck. I was happy to see on a social media post that he and Alex were walking along the paddock, obviously amicably chatting about the incident. So that, to me, would suggest that in their eyes at least, it was 50-50. Of course, Williams have plenty to worry about too. This is their 3rd big crash in 2 weeks. Going racing is becoming a very expensive exercise.
Yeah,
and as you know,
they
did not have a 3rd chassis in Australia, which meant they couldn't even run a car during the race. When Alex got out of that car, he gave it a good looking over to see if he could assess the damage. James Vowles said they're going to have to wait until they get it back to England before they obviously make that decision. But he seems to think it will be fine. Although
oh yeah, that's sad. That because they crashed into the wheels, it kind of made bigger damage than it looked like. But hopefully that's not true.
James did say that they would have to revert to an old spec aero package if they could use the chassis again, as Williams only had one set of their upgrade package. So I'm not sure that we should expect too much in terms of performance from Williams in the next race in China. So that's what a lot of the media focused on. Of course, we had Max Verstappen winning, as you would well expect, and he happened to win in a canter, really. Great to see Sergio Perez second, though, because Sergio needs to bolster his performances to make sure that he retains that seat for next year.
And
He's got
who
a
will?
Family Matters now, and I was delighted to see Oscar Piastri's mum, Nicole, with us on the weekend. Her and her partner, Tim, had brought the 3 Piastri sisters. Now, in the past, I've photographed Hattie at a race, but I don't think you've met Edie or May. These are delightful young ladies. They still live at home, and when Oscar comes back to Melbourne, he'll often stay with the family, and he has a special relationship with one of the family's 2 dogs, but the dog just doesn't click and doesn't relish Oscar's love and affection. I asked them whether...
Let's see. No, it was... Come on, let's see. Where did he finish? It was half good race for him. Let's see. No, Oscar Piastri, P8. Okay, so the race for them can't be fun to watch when it's finished so low down.
His success had changed him much, and they said no, he still has a very dry sense of humour and is enjoying his time driving for McLaren. How'd he go on the weekend? He finished 8th.
Oh my god, going from Alpine to McLaren, he's just getting better for every
Subject
season.
of Oscar Piastri, I have an Oscar Piastri quad-lock case that the guys gave me. This is from Melbourne. But why I love this product is there's all these different options for putting on the back. Let's just say battery. I have a wallet that goes
Surely
on the back.
you
And someone like Valtteri Bottas, who's a
believe in
cyclist,
everything you
would
say
get great
now.
use out of this mount. Back in Perth, I have this bracket in my car. I can simply
Not at all
push this onto
sponsored.
it and it clicks on automatically. It's magnetic. There's no doubt, though, that Quadlock offers the simplest and best smartphone mounting system for all your adventures.
True.
Another accessory you might like is this suction base, which allows you to put it on, say, a window or a flat surface and mount your phone any way you want. And another thing, this is extremely solid, so it doesn't break, particularly at the bottom, which other cheaper ones do. If you're interested in finding out more, there's a link in the description below. Click on that or head to quadlockcase.net.
Was worried
on my side of things, I went out to Parc Fermé to photograph the top 3 drivers coming in and the podium. And we typically queue up, well, on this stage it was about 10 laps I queued up for. That enabled me to be towards the front of the queue, so I got a pretty good position for Parc Fermé. And when I saw Sergio Perez's trainer, Jose Canales, stand next to me, I thought, right, we're going to at least get Sergio over here. Then to my left, I saw Carlos Honora, who is Carlos Sainz's cousin, stroke manager.
Oh, sometimes
so I'm thinking,
lucky.
Right, I'm going to get both drivers. Well, in fact, I got all 3 come over, so I had a wide-angle lens, and they were with less than a metre from me at times, and I could hear what they were saying between the different crew members, and it's a rather privileged position to be in. After Parc Fermé, I moved back to shoot the podium, and unfortunately there's these wires that stop the drivers falling over the edge, but of course they look shocking in your photos.
That's a bad
unless
thing.
You happen to be nice and high, and this track does not have
Oh,
a
shit.
photo tower. But of course we had some great champagne
Almost
spraying.
lost on
We had
copper.
Carlos trying to pour champagne, well, sparkling wine down Max Verstappen's race suit. Just to my right I had Fred Vasseur. Christian Horner was just to my left, and behind me was Max's race engineer on the left here. Oh, and these 2 guys caught my attention too with the Japanese bandanas. Apart from the top 3, who was happy with the race on Sunday? Well, certainly last.
If they go on a plane, you don't know how that will end.
Stroll was pretty happy. He came out beaming. We don't often see him with big smiles on his face after the race.
Yeah, big smile after that race, right?
So well done to Lance Stroll. And Yuki Tsunoda was the hometown hero. And it's funny that Yuki had a celly after the race with his team because he finished 10th in his home race. Remember back to Mercedes when they were in their heyday. If they won, they had a celebration, but anything less than a win would not result in a formal celebration. Now we're having teams who are obviously getting down to 10th and celebrating a point, but they're obviously very different teams, and being Yuki's home race, I think it was probably justified. Now, other things I want to talk to you about. Have a look at Lewis Hamilton coming in here. This was an interesting outfit.
Interesting. I mean, maybe a helmet. He should wear a helmet also. Then he can look like a normal person.
Of course, Lewis tends to wear some out there stuff. This had, for me, vibes of perhaps a shooting jacket or even a photo jacket with lots of pockets. And as you can see behind here, this is one of Lewis's security people, Pavel. He's behind, and this is Reese. Reese is taking off to go in front to clear a path for Lewis. This was pretty early in the morning, about 5.5 hours before race start. And it's not often we see Lewis in that early, but typically what one of the security guys will do is clear a path for Lewis. And I must say, we're pretty lucky to get a clean shot here. Normally there are fans everywhere looking for selfies and autographs. Now, still on the subject of fans, I want to talk to you about these fans. These are Apex fans. Of course, that's the fictional F1 team that Brad Pitt and Damson Idris will be driving for in a movie that comes out in 2025. I spotted the film crew there on Saturday and Sunday. They were running a car around the track with some cameras on the back capturing vision for background for the movie. But out in the area just outside the swipe gates, they cajoled a number of fans in putting on the Apex shirts. They were giving away the hats, and of course look at these cars on top of the hats. Very nice touch. And those people who were just fans on the day, they weren't extras, will in fact be in the movie with any sort of luck. And all of those people were signing waivers, and those waivers would then be held up next to their face, and somebody from the production team would take a photo of them. So obviously they know that those people are cleared and have given permission to be in a major Hollywood film. Oh, and one final thing. After the race, I walked back down pit lane, and I could see all these fans out here having a lovely time looking through the gaps in the pit wall fence. Then I hark back to Australia, and I think in a lot of races they have to have a security guard at each of those holes, and in Australia they actually had to board them up, and even then people were trying to kick them down. But not in Japan, because the Japanese people understand what the etiquette is.
Yeah. I mean, they are normal, like the civilized countries, instead of uncivilized countries are.
So here they had no boards,
like
and they
America.
had no security people. The fans just knew the gig that they weren't allowed into pit lane, and that is one of the great things about this country. Now we could see Oscar Piastri down here tonight because I believe, and in fact I know he missed his helicopter transfer. His girlfriend Lily made it, but no, he dipped out and he's now having to catch a train, like the rest of us, to Nagoya and then perhaps to some point onward. But this is a marvellous way to travel here. Everything is supremely reliable. The trains are magnificently comfortable and clean.
Yeah, like America.
Last year we didn't book a ticket, and hence we were stuck here taking the just general carriage with a whole lot of luggage jam-packed like sardines. But we didn't make that mistake this year, and indeed we have 2 reserved seats on the Limited Express to Nagoya. What's it like being a professional photographer?
Well, mate, I was hoping I'd bump into somebody who might be able to tell me.
Clive, what's your take on this F1 photography nonsense?
Well, you get to travel to the best countries in the world like this. I travel by train, and yeah, that's it really. You can cut.
Man, wouldn't you be hyped to travel by the train in USA?
Those 2 photographers are quite well known from Getty Images, Clive Mason and Clive Rose. And they're on this train here. Let's see if we can see them as they pass by. With that said, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe. I make that plea often, and for those who do actually succumb and press the subscribe button, it's appreciated. And for a whole lot of extra content, check out some of these links. Thanks for watching.
And stay passionate.
Check out these links. Okay.
Yep, let's end it. The great view of the medieval village castle place. Hopefully tomorrow will give some more. Yeah. Seek away. Yeah. Daniel Ricciardo. I'm hoping we'll have some good races, because Visa Cash probably Formula 1 team need more points. They need to secure their position. Let's see, they are now they are P6, and hopefully they will stay there. And Haas, I hope they will not get any more points. Man, 4 points. Williams should have more 4 points. But yeah. Let's see, can we see China? Did it say when it's how much time it is? Probably not, so I can maybe go let's see if I share on do we have China already in the Nope. Well, I know it's 20. Did it say it is 21st? Yeah, the race is 21st April. That's in 2 weeks. What can happen then? I don't know. But maybe soon we will learn what maybe will happen.